Okay. Yeah, that will kill you.
We gotta go.
Well, you know,
It's 5:30. It's 5:31.
I thought it was sort of like game.
Oh, I'm
I
sorry.
only have 5:29.
Sorry.
Satellite.
That's weird.
Okay. So it's like leaking.
Elon Musk.
It's
Yeah,
like
no, that's right.
leaking.
Sorry. That clock has changed. That used to be.
Right.
That's strange.
Right.
Something is happening.
so she was there. She regained consciousness after the operation.
What you're saying now.
That was very shocking. You know, it's really close to home.
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely. Personally, I didn't, when you
We'll
get
call the meeting to order at 5:30. Okay. Commission Secretary, would you please take roll?
Okay, Chair Patricia Trouth,
Here.
all right, Vice Chair Jen Glonson,
Present.
and then Commissioners Chris Duncan,
Here.
James Gross,
Here.
Ron Madoc,
Here.
Paul Templin,
Here.
and David Daly.
Here.
Great, thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, the next agenda item is approval of the minutes. Can I have someone make a motion, please?
I move to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
I have a question about the minutes.
Okay.
I have a question about the minutes.
Can turn your mic on.
Let's see.
There you go.
Well, thank you. On on the minutes I can't get this up on the screen by my way. I don't know why. I didn't push the sign-in button, and now I just have a black screen, so I can't see anything. I don't know if somebody can do something about that.
Kirian, if you're hearing me, somebody from our IT department is in the back. She should be able to.
Great, thank you. I can continue if you like. Okay. So in the minutes on action item 7A, number 3, that had to do with the two votes on the third and fourth of the HSIP grants and the different designs. And the minutes read, remove wheel stops at intersections, quote unquote. And that was not the meaning. And I didn't go back. I'm quite sure that I did not say intersections. I was the one who made the motion. It should read, remove the wheel stops at sections, not intersections, north and south of parallel parking, and to remove bollards, except for a minimum number as visual cues of separation of the two-way cycle track and the Class 2 bike lane. Is that how you remember it? Because we had a discussion at that time.
Correct, yes. I did check that, and I did get your email, but because it was posted, I had to refer to Commission. I did check that what Commissioner mentioned is true. It was just a mislistening of the statement. So if Commission agrees, we can make a motion to fix this.
I'd like to make such a motion then.
Okay.
That would be a secondary motion, I assume.
Okay, you guys, it sounds like don't use the voting buttons. So if you could say your name so I get the correct person who's making the motion, that would be great.
You'd like me to say my name?
So I have Commissioner Templin as the maker. And so who is the second? You're Ron? You're making the second?
Well, this would be a substitute motion with the minor edit.
Okay.
So Commissioner Maddock would be making the substitute motion with the minor edit.
Okay.
And then it would need to be seconded. After it gets seconded, then they vote on it.
Sure.
That's correct. Yeah, that's exactly how I interpret it.
So for the second, who will be the second on that motion?
I'll second it.
Okay, great, thank you.
And do you have enough documentation, or does it need to be repeated? Or it sounds like there was an email that was sent?
Yeah, but, well, obviously, we cannot mention the email in the minutes, but the correct was remove at some sections. It wasn't at intersections.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
I'll be sure to have Amanda reflect that in the minutes.
Okay, so,
I had one additional question. And I'm going to ask you, Abe, because you may remember, or anybody really, did we take the third and the fourth grants and wrap them into one motion so that, because that's how it's reflected in the minutes? Or did we vote on them separately? Do you remember?
I have a feeling we did it together. I feel it was done together.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought it was separate. I mean, we
Was
had a long
separate?
discussion because there were some commissioners that were uncomfortable with doing it all in one package of 4, so we did them one after another.
Yeah, we did them, sir. But those two, because of how this is the cycle track and the crosswalk, the crossing at the border of the two cities, because they were kind of intertwined, those two, I think, were discussed and voted together. Yeah, but we did, it was one single item on the commission agenda, but it was voted separately for each.
Then the motion stands as I made it before.
Okay, thank you.
okay, can we have a roll call for approving the minutes? Do we need to have that? I'm sorry, or is it just,
Do you just want to
I
raise
mean, we
your
have a
hand?
second, and you can
Yeah.
just say aye or
Yeah,
raise
that would be
hand or
great.
whatever you want.
Sorry, it's a little different for the planning commission. So yeah, if you just would raise your hand and say aye, that would be great.
approving the minutes?
Got it, thank you.
Okay. So next we have oral communications. And oral comments, a maximum of 3 minutes will be heard from people who submit a white speaker slip to the commission secretary. Time donations are not permitted during oral communications. No discussion or action may legally be taken on such non-agenda items. If at least 2 commissioners agree, direction may be given to staff to put an item on a future agenda or provide additional information to answer a question. So, Commission Secretary, do we have oral communications
We
this
do
evening?
this evening, and first up would be Leah Ratcliffe.
Hello. Oh, hi, everybody. Good evening. I'm here to speak about saved roadways and infrastructure in Encinitas. I bought my house over 10 years ago, and I can see Encinitas Boulevard from my living room window. This road is my connection to everything: dentist, doctor, school, beaches, grocery store, you name it. It's the road that's used by my entire community to get where we need to go on a daily basis. Currently, there are several new housing developments being built on Encinitas Boulevard on the corridor. And whether we like it or not, we're here for we're gonna have a denser community really soon, right? Which means that there'll be even more traffic on roads like Encinitas and roads like El Camino Real. I understand that you're concerned about about an arterial flow to the freeways. I am too. I'm also concerned about my child's safety as he bikes to school and my own safety as I walk or bike. My community is also deeply concerned about their safety on the roads. These two needs may seem at first glance to be at odds, but there are solutions that would benefit and work for everybody. The proven solution to increase population density is walkability. I want commuters to have a steady flow to the freeway. I really do. However, actions such as widening Encinitas Boulevard, they're just not viable. Adding lanes has not been shown to relieve traffic in the long term, and it will not make our roads safer for all modes of transportation. Widening the boulevard means I will drive instead of walk to my gym. I will drive to the grocery store. I will drive to meet friends for dinner, and I will increase traffic congestion on Encinitas Boulevard. I will also drive to the beach. I will increase traffic and I will increase congestion near the freeway, and I'll take up a valuable parking spot at the beach. Those are things I would normally ride my bike to. I will do that because I don't feel safe. I won't feel safe. What if instead the council implemented infrastructure changes to increase safety and accessibility for bikes and pedestrians? What if public transit was better utilized? What if the hundreds of people that are coming to our community had viable transportation options other than their cars? 4 deaths this year is unacceptable, and it shows that our roads are not safe. I urge you, and my community urges you, to use the state of emergency to make infrastructure changes right now. Install flashing lights, and this is your speed signs. Those are examples of smart, inexpensive actions you can take right now. Long term, there's a comprehensive safety action plan. I hope you use it to guide infrastructure changes that will make our community walkable and get cars to the freeway. Thank you very much.
Next, we have Sadie Weinberg.
You want me to play a video now?
Yeah, I'm just here to hold space for the video.
Is there audio too?
I don't know. It comes.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Stephanie, and I just would like to let everyone know that I'm through this intersection about, 6 times a day at different times of the day. And it doesn't matter what time of day it is. This intersection is busy, busy, busy. We have a lot of people coming through here with a lot of people that aren't stopping. They're not slowing down.
Hi, my name's Deanna, and I work in the area, and I have also lived in Encinitas for the last 29 years. I've seen the traffic flow and the amount of people here increase exponentially. I have also seen people running red lights exponentially. I drive in this area every day, and there's not one day that goes by that I don't see people running red lights.
Hi, my name is Trisha. I live in the area. I'm actually John and Bridget's neighbor, and our girls grew up together. I've known them for many, many years, and I work in the shopping center, and I've seen people run this red light numerous times. It's not even, rushing through a yellow. It's grossly running a red light that, when people are either walking or getting ready to make a left. I've seen it multiple times myself. It's really jarring. It has taught me to not just go when the light turns green anymore. I have to wait and lag a little bit and make sure nobody's running it before I go.
Hi, my name is Marissa. I work in the area, and I also live in Encinitas. All around, actually. Encinitas, I see this all the time, running red lights, very close calls with pedestrians, very close calls with bikes. I myself have crossed over to the other side of Encinitas Boulevard, and I'm constantly looking because even when people go right, they don't necessarily stop to do that. They just kind of turn. And I've just seen many close calls, and it is completely terrifying. I watch a light turn red, and then I watch about 4 or 5 cars go. You know, and I just want to say that I am so mad that this even happened. You know, I don't understand why we don't have cops stationed here occasionally after this accident happened to get people to start awareness and slowing down.
Honestly, as soon as someone has to die, why isn't there police here patrolling at least once a day? People are still going through red lights. Still, this light every single day. You can catch people. You want to make money, Encinitas? Just sit at this light all day long and catch people going through red lights. You can do this one, you can do that one up there, but this one, someone died. Why don't you give it a try just for an hour a day?
The police station is right behind here. I don't understand why you just didn't come here and start getting people to start going, oh, I need to start slowing
And
down.
I don't know if you guys have ever noticed, but in Rancho Santa Fe, they have a decoy sheriff vehicle, and I recommended that. I think I sent an email to the mayor, and I'm like, why don't you just have a decoy here?
Yeah.
Park a decoy vehicle.
And then every once in a while have a police, have a motorcycle cop.
Yeah.
Have a decoy,
Because even
it's not that hard. Yeah,
even
the presence
would.
People
People
think
pay
twice.
attention to that.
And I think ticketing, if people were ticketed more often. If my friend says I got a $400 ticket because I ran a red light or I was speeding or whatever, it sticks in your head. You're going to be less likely possibly to be running that light or doing whatever you were doing. But I don't even hear that. I don't know anybody.
Yeah, when there's no accountability, why wouldn't you run a red light?
Yeah.
No accountability whatsoever.
Yeah.
Maggie, and what's your flower shop called?
Oh, this is Maggie from Floreña Flowers.
Do you want to share a little bit about what you've witnessed at the intersection of Encinitas Boulevard and Villa Stewart Drive since you've been here? And how long have you been here?
I've been here a year.
Okay. What have you witnessed within that year?
There's a lot of people, they're not patient here, and a lot of people speed a lot. Yeah, so a lot of traffic every day, and I seen people just being no patient to each other, Right now with this accident that passed, the little girl, she passed away. It's like, people know that they need to reduce the speed, be patient, be calm.
Have you seen any more, would you say more police presence since the accident, or about the same, or what have you seen around that?
A little bit more.
Uh-huh.
Not too much, but a little bit more, yeah. Usually the motorcycle police stands here, but I haven't seen him in 2 weeks.
What do you think would help?
I think police, they can watch more, or people sometimes if they see a motorcycle police or car police, they just I think that helps a lot.
Okay, our next speaker is John Chalikin.
Hey, Commissioners. Thank you for the time. I'll give you a little bit of that last extra 3 minutes back. I just have a simple request. Perhaps you folks can quorum during or after the meeting to discuss the status of the state of emergency, please. It was addressed at the Joint Mobility and City Council on 6/25. There was a motion to put a state of emergency on the next scheduled regular City Council meeting, which is this Wednesday. I reviewed the minutes. It's reflects that. There was no closed sessions to have other commentary that would have prevented that from occurring, and it is now not on the agenda. I'm imagining you folks would be involved heavily if there were a state of emergency, so it'd be grateful for myself, I would imagine others in the community, if you folks could quorum, discuss, and figure out how to take that to City Council to figure out what the next steps are. Thank you.
Next is Dick Stern.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Dick Stern, and I'm the president of the Encinitas Ranch Community Association, an HOA of 500 homes that adjoins Quail Gardens Drive and the Encinitas Ranch Golf Course. I'm attending tonight's commission meeting on behalf of homeowners in Encinitas Ranch to ensure that you are aware of serious safety, quality of life, and traffic issues on the streets and intersections close to Fox Point Farms. Since the public amenities were opened and events held, there's been a dramatic increase in vehicles parked on surrounding streets like Paseo de las Flores and Sidonia Street. The situation has become so concerning to the homeowners in Encinitas Ranch that they created and distributed a petition asking for a parking permit zone to be established on Paseo de las Flores. That petition, with about 200 signatures, has been forwarded to the city and is awaiting the final reviews and adoption of guidelines for parking permit zones. In the meantime, the homeowners wanted to be sure that you were aware of these concerns. This off-site parking is creating serious safety issues for bicycles, vehicles, and pedestrians, and there's a strong belief that unless some parking mitigation measures are taken, there will be a serious accident. Many young students bike to and from school using Paseo de las Flores, and there is no bike lane, making this extremely unsafe for them. In addition, these vehicles could impact the ability of emergency vehicles to respond to a situation in the South Mesa in a timely manner. I have forwarded a link to your administrative assistant to a Google Photos album that I created and contains numerous photos and videos Paseo de las Flores during various events at Fox Point Farms. Vehicles are speeding, they're making U-turns, vans for construction workers are stopping to pick up and drop off workers, car doors are opening, and children are in danger. There are several photos of accidents and photos of construction vehicles parked on Paseo de las Flores for Fox Point Farms, and they have done substantial damage to the road surface. I'd be glad to resend the photo album to each of you if you have not had a chance to see them. And I encourage you to look at these, particularly at the videos. We attribute these problems to a lack of appropriate on-site parking, which is most likely due to the developer underestimating parking requirements and not meeting the conditions of approval for parking and for holding large events without proper permits. We all enjoy the public amenities at this development and wish them great success. However, they should act as responsible neighbors. We would deeply appreciate your support in implementing appropriate measures to mitigate these safety issues. Thanks for your time and attention.
Next, we have Angelica Pedler.
Good evening. My name is Angelica Pedler. I've lived on Sidonia Street for 29 years. I care and I'm committed to this community. Our neighborhood is the original Fox Point Farms on the north side of Leucadia Boulevard, directly across from the new Fox Point Farms development. As mentioned by Dick, we too have seen a significant increase in the traffic in this area, increase in traffic speeds on Leucadia Boulevard, and an increase of cars parked on Sidonia Street and Guilford Court from people using the farm's amenities. We're also experiencing spillovers from the new homeowners themselves. This new project contains 250 units. The development is not fully occupied. Only about 3/4 of the residents have moved in, yet we are already seeing nightly overflow parking in our neighborhood. Many of the new residents cannot or choose not to park on site. Some use garages for storage or gyms, which is against the HOA rules and further pushing cars onto the street. This creates a real safety concern. Increased on-street parking reduces visibility for drivers, cyclists, and pedestrians, especially children. We have a lot of children in that neighborhood, and seniors. My mom's handicapped. She's 89 in a wheelchair, and it makes it more difficult for emergency vehicles to navigate. The city of Encinitas approves this development knowing that there would be parking shortage. Simply stating that public streets are available for anyone to use is not a viable long-term solution. This is just kicking the problem across the street, literally. The city has committed to preserving the original character of its community, and that requires ensuring new developments complement, not disrupt, established neighborhoods. There's a lot of new people coming to that area. We as a neighborhood are requesting that the city implement a residential parking permit program for the original Fox Point residents. We also request that the city post signage stating no access to Fox Point Farm amenities in the medium strip of the entrance of Sidonia Street. This is a quick and simple step that would immediately help our neighborhood and we ask for speed enforcement on Leucadia Boulevard. So I've been here for 29 years. Both of my children were born here, and I almost got hit the other day for the first time. Parking permit programs have been successfully implemented in several cities to protect neighborhoods safely and the livability. This is a proven solution, and it's simply time to apply it here. Thank you.
Next, we have Christine Schindel.
Hey everyone, Christine Schindler. I live in East Encinitas. So I want to appreciate the previous 5 speakers and the things that they've spoken to. Clearly, we all care about our community and we want people to be safe when they're on the roadways. So I do want to compliment some things, be positive. We have some new pavement and some roadways that have bike lanes now when they didn't before. So I appreciate the city's work on Saxony and on Village Parkway. And Village Parkway, it took a while to get it done, but it's actually done before the start of the school, just in time. And then on El Camino Real, new pavement, and they finished the striping to make it contiguous and better with wider bike lanes, buffered bike lanes, a better pinch point. So there are some good things, important things that are happening in our community, and I want to appreciate staff. I also want to call out the LPI project that's ongoing, so that's lead pedestrian intervals. So it's getting walkers and bike riders now across an intersection before any cars move. So it's giving them 3 seconds, 8 seconds to get into an intersection, hopefully across a roadway before any cars are moving. So that's a super critical project, and I appreciate it and, magically would love it to be done right now, but that's not how it works. So vulnerable road users. So I appreciate you all being commissioners. I always joke about you should get a pay upgrade. I want you to always be thinking about vulnerable road users, because car drivers are in cars. They're protected by steel. If you're walking, skateboarding, riding a bike, scooter, you're not protected. So the message on the sticker, slow down, stop on red, thinking of Emory, thinking of others that have been killed on our roadways is so important. I just this is information I've given you before. I'm going to give it to you again in hopes that you'll read it, share it with others. So I have a 2-pager, one side reminders when you're a bike rider what to do to be safer, as safe as you possibly can be, the best practices. On the other side, reminders to motorists, what they need to do, because it takes everybody to create safer streets. So I'll leave that with you. I also want to encourage you, if you have never heard of it, Caltrans District 11 office has a group that's called BPAC. It's Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee. I've been part of it for years, and I'll leave this with you so you can check it out. It's very informative. So thanks so much.
Next, we have Judy Burlfing.
Hello, I'm Judy Burlfine, and there seems to be a theme this evening. Oh. Of speed enforcement, and at the last joint meeting, we talked about the pilot program, AB 645, that the state had passed for automated speed enforcement, and you received direction from council to do research on this. I'm in touch with the executive director of Streets Are For Everyone in Los Angeles. His name is Damian Kevitt, and he's a wealth of knowledge on this program and also on an updated red light camera program that should be going into place soon. I want to see one or both of these things move forward as quickly as possible so we can have more effective enforcement. So you can either hand this off to staff to look into and report to City Council, or you can look into it yourself. Mr. Kevitt has offered to speak by Zoom to you to tell you all about the program, answer all of your questions. I encourage you to move as quickly as possible, choosing one of these routes to make sure this happens as soon as possible so we can start having better enforcement on our streets. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Michael Murphy.
Good evening, Commissioners. Michael Murphy, Leucadia. I would like you to put on an agenda the crosswalk at Coast Highway, Leucadia Boulevard, and Vulcan Avenue. I've almost been hit there numerous times. The last time was a couple of nights ago. I hit the button with my elbow to say walk. It says walk. Somebody flies over the track, cuts right in front of me at a high rate of speed, making a right-hand turn. It's now set up so that when they're going eastbound, there's a yellow light for the cars to turn at the same time the pedestrians are crossing. I've been 2/3 way going east, and cars are whipping in front of me. One time, a man almost hit the curb on the other side because he had to go before letting me go. This is a nightly occurrence. This is the beach. This is where vacationers go. This is where people walk to go to the restaurants as well. So a lot of these people don't know that you've got to hope and pray you make it without getting run over. It's a serious thing. There is never a police officer there, never. They're running red lights. The wait for the pedestrian, a couple of seconds for them to go first, that's not happening. He was this close to me at a high rate of speed. Then I walk across and I saw the yellow sign about let's make Encinitas safe again, street safe. Well, that's what brought me there. Between the two things, it's brought me here. What needs to be done, and then once you get across, then we're waiting again to cross Vulcan Avenue, where they're doing the same madness. If the single timing was the same as La Costa Avenue, you could walk from Roadside Park on the west side of Coast Highway all the way across to the 7-Eleven on the other side of Vulcan Avenue. Right now, what I do is I get to and I run up the hill so I can make the light, so I don't have to watch the madness of the drivers on their cell phones running red lights. You know, this is serious. I've been in the neighborhood for 50 years. I was here when it was quiet, when Encinitas Boulevard was 2 lanes, when Leucadia Boulevard didn't go up and over the hill. I know what peace is, what it was like. I live on Hermes. Hermes is now a racetrack with people trying to get around. Things need to be done there too. I would love to see what's done on Summit Drive. I was just up for a granddaughter's graduation in Oregon, and she graduated from U of O. And in the middle of the streets were these 6-foot roundabouts. Nobody went fast. The little trees, just like on Summit, where the road goes like this instead of a straightaway. My road is 26 foot long. Wide, 26 foot wide, and it's a straightaway. They want to go around a light, they fly. Please put a couple of things on the agenda for me. Thank you.
Next, we have Karen Caden.
Hi, good evening. I'm Karen Caden, and I live in the northeast location of Leucadia. area. I've been here for 43 years. I also walked at 9 months pregnant for incorporation in '86. So here I am still. Please consider safety and protection in our neighborhood near the Olympus Park. There is a two-way stop sign at Carter and Olympus. I am suggesting a four-way stop sign include at Olympus crossing. There is a white ladder crossing at the intersection with no stop sign. It gives the false appearance that there is a stop sign there. That was my first. Now, my second location is all Encinitas has experienced the Encinitas Boulevard and Vulcan intersection problem of vehicles not clearing the passageway. This item of concern should be addressed by a work plan for city traffic engineer to create a keep clear box at this site, please. Number 3. Safe walk to Capri School. Recently received the yellow ladder crossing at Capri and Carter Street and a new tall street light that glares and shines into 844 Capri neighbor's yard, bedroom, and other windows. May cause ill effects and one's health from bright LEDs or other street light. Please remove the light. And no children are crossing to school in the dark at that area. We like dark skies. Also, months ago, Abe heard me and he agreed no lights should be glaring in neighbors' homes. Number 4, please promote cyclists to collaborate a licensed driver vehicles on the streets to clear the right-hand turns for drivers. We see them sit right in front, two next to each other, sit right in front of each other, and we can't make a right-hand turn, and I think we should all be respectful. Thank you very much for your time.
Our final speaker is Dennis Caden.
Thank you, Commissioners. Dennis Caden, Leucadia. So I also want to address the congestion that occurs at Encinitas Boulevard and Vulcan. And especially right now with all the beach goers, it's really bad. We have a higher frequency of the intersection being completely blocked. So here is like coming from City Hall when I go home to my beautiful Leucadia, and you see the white car is blocking anybody from getting through there. The other, okay, next one, please, Abe, number 2. Okay, so here's going southbound, and the, again, the intersection is blocked. It's hard to see here. Can it be blown up at all? I just want to show that it's a green light. It's for the person in the white car to go left, but they can't go left because the intersection is blocked, unless he goes scooting around over there, which obviously would be dangerous. Next slide, please. This one is, so that's my rear view mirror, and you can see, anyway, if you can see, it's a red light at Encinitas and 101. The difficulty is the light at Vulcan is still green. So the drivers see the green light and they go through, and that's what's blocking the intersection. Perhaps a recommendation could be made that the light at Vulcan and Encinitas turns red first before the green light at 101 turns red. Seems like they're backwards, because it's like setting the driver up. They got a green light, so they still go forward, and then all of a sudden they got no place to go. Then the next slide, thank you, is kind of the same thing, and I'm just showing you the timing. If you notice the light, oops, can you move it down a little bit? No, the other way. Thanks. See, there's an amber light on the, so what happened was nothing has changed blocking the intersection, yet a complete green light sequence has gone through, and those cars are still blocking the intersection. The other night, Karen and I were coming down from Orpheus to Vulcan. We're going to make a right turn onto Encinitas Boulevard to get downtown. Luckily, the intersection was not blocked because it was late, but the fire trucks came with the sirens and the lights blasting, and we would not have any place to go if that intersection was blocked like you just saw the photos of. Luckily, we were able to get out of their way, and thank goodness. Thanks. Please try to either address the sequencing or not. And thank you for being here and listening to us.
Okay, thank you for all your comments. We really appreciate them. I'd like to open it up for any commissioners to make some comments, if they would, on the public communications, oral communications.
Chair, I just want to address the comment about the statement of emergency. That was, I guess, supposed to be reflected from the last meeting, and what can be done about that?
According to our bylaws that we'll be discussing a little later, we have an opportunity now to put it on the agenda for next month. And then we also have the opportunity to create a subcommittee.
And what's the procedure for that? What's the procedure for that?
Well, we pretty much say we'd like to do one of those, and then if I understand correctly, Abe, then we can proceed with that. It would be on the agenda. You know, if we do make it an agenda item, it would be on for next month, or a subcommittee, which requires 2 people, but no more than 3, so you don't have a quorum. You know, they could meet and go into greater detail on the particular topic.
Correct. However, as you know, the emergency declaration has to be coming from the city council. So we can create that subcommittee per our bylaws after being adopted today. However, if city council does not declare, I'm not sure what the role of that subcommittee be. So I think a simpler approach would be to commission to discuss this at a commissioner corner, and chair can send a letter maybe to council that, hey, council commissioners are interested in this. Can you provide us an update or something? I mean, it would be simpler. If council later on wants to direct commission to make this an additional, because right now it's not on the work plan, but if council directs commission that, hey, we want you to consider this as one of your work plan items, we want to declare emergency, this is the role that we want commission to play, that makes it a lot more formalized. But I would say it's a horse before the carriage, because like if council is not going to declare it for any reason, I'm not saying it wouldn't, I'm saying it hasn't happened yet, so to create that subcommittee seems a little premature, I would say.
Okay, thanks for that clarification, Abe. Appreciate it. So it sounds like one of the options we have is to write a letter, for me to write a letter on behalf of the commission.
Yes, if commission is interested in that, this can be discussed internally, and the letter can go from commission chair to council that this was discussed internally at commission and we're interested. Do you have a role for us? Are you planning on anything? Any questions the commission has? Yeah.
Okay, so we'll discuss this in greater detail at Commissioner's Corner if that works for the rest of the commissioners.
Sorry, I just have a comment. 2 years ago, my recollection is the mayor issued a state of emergency, unfortunately, when a teenager was struck and killed on El Camino Real. And I think with the condition that we're in, I think it's very reasonable, just in the month that we're in the state that we're in, with unfortunate accidents that have happened, where we listen to the community with the speeding. And so I think it's critical that the mayor, with the help of council, can issue a state of emergency, and that will help enforcement, which seems to be one of the issues that we have here, and the consequences for speeding. And we see it. We have the residents reporting, and I think it's necessary, absolutely. So we can, Chair can submit a letter, but we need the funds, or, you know, we need to have some access to funds so we can get enforcement. And I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's what happened with the mayor.
No, you're absolutely, and again, it might very well happen. Like, as you know, like we discussed this in, I think, July, and then council was dark. We discussed it in June, and council was dark in July, so it very, very well might be in the works. It's just, like, we don't have anything at the moment.
Exactly. So the influence that we have, what I'm saying is that the influence that we have, I mean, we can put pressure on the mayor and the council to make that decision, but it's really gonna be up to them, up to him, to help us, to help the community, and yeah, I think it's necessary.
No, I do remember council expressed interest during the joint meeting, so I'm not, it just hasn't happened yet. And again, it's because of the 40 days of gap that we had from the previous meeting. It might be discussed again at the first meeting, and they might decide to do it.
Excellent. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll go into a little bit more detail further on into the meeting.
Yeah, Commissioner Johnson here. Most of the public comments today concerned the fact that our road network is kind of bursting at the seams with the traffic increase and no way to relieve the stress. I did notice that the parking issues related to the housing element sites are serious, and Mr. Stern brought that up. I'd suggest that Mr. Stern take this straight to the City Council because this involves a decision that the Planning Commission made. We could think about permit parking for Paseo de Flores or other alternatives, but the council might be the right venue for that.
Okay, thank you. Let's see, so...
Maybe I can ask Abe on that. Abe, actually, I don't think we've addressed parking permits at this commission. Which commission is responsible for that discussion prior to going to City Council, if any?
Yes, so as you'll hear in a few minutes, we are at the last few yards of the permit parking program overhaul of the city, a process that has started about a year and a half ago. I'll be giving you a presentation on it. If adopted by, it will be heard, the first reading of the ordinance amending the existing Muni Code is going to happen on August 27th, tentatively, but it's on the tentative agenda to happen on the August 27th. 2 weeks after, it will be the second reading of the ordinance. After the program is adopted, 30 days after it will go in effect, so sometime mid-October, the new program will be effective. In the language of the new program, the petition comes to staff from public. Staff does preliminary evaluations. It will come to Traffic Commission, and your recommendations will go to City Council after. So that's the process, and Mobility Commission is in charge of the first round of review.
Thank you.
Any other comments from the commissioners?
I just have one other comment about a speaker about Encinitas Boulevard, and I just want to say that we. I don't want to speak for all the commissioners, but we're very concerned, or more concerned, or the priority is not the access to the freeways. It's the concern, the safety on the roadways, either near the freeways, near the beach, and so that I think we could all say is our priority here. Thanks.
I guess I'll just follow up. I think I've mentioned this in prior meetings. It's really hard to decouple all of this and talk about one and not talk about the other. Increased congestion leads to more unsafe behaviors by people. And so as we're getting into of course, people drove with better behaviors 20 years ago or 30 years ago in Encinitas when there were fewer people living here. All of the critical intersections, like the one where Emery died, I too have seen people go through there on red lights, and there's no excuse for it, but it's a very congested intersection, and so people are inclined to do those kind of risky behaviors because they get frustrated. So I think when people talk about a situation where we can have safer streets and not worry about congestion or just slow down, I think it's just being disingenuous. You're going to see more risky behaviors as congestion gets worse. Enforcement is one thing we can do, and we should do it. But that's not going to solve the problem. Already, we're seeing people driving, so they get off of the arterial roadways because they're so congested. Now they're running through our neighborhoods. It's really a problem, and it's just a problem because there's too many people here. And so I hope people keep that in mind, that just trying to solve one problem and hope people are going to ride bikes or walk when we all know, or we all experience that, I don't know, 98% or so, whatever the statistic is, of people in Encinitas, United States, they drive. So the cars are there and they're not going away, and they're not going to be replaced by bikes or people walking. And there is no mass transit really to speak of in North County or Encinitas. So, let's just be clear about what we're asking for when we talk about some of these solutions.
So noted. Any other comments? Okay, then special presentations, information proclamations, and announcements. Proposed updates on the permit parking program.
Thank you, Chair. Before I begin, I want to thank Dina for covering for Amanda tonight. Amanda wasn't available. I also want to recognize we have our new interim Assistant Director of Engineering, Dan Nutter, here tonight with us. I want to appreciate him being present, observing this meeting tonight. To the agenda item, as mentioned a few minutes ago, this is, I believe, the final update that the Commission is hearing on our new permit parking program, a process regarding our existing permit parking zones in the city. These are the 4 zones that we currently have, and then the potential upcoming zones in the future. A little bit of history on this. In January, City Council provided funding for the city to hire a consultant to review our existing permit parking program and come up with a new program. Multiple community meetings. We had multiple commission meetings. I believe 3 times this was discussed at the commission during the past year. The consultant came with a new set of guidelines for the new program, a new set of Muni Code sections and language for the new Muni Code. This went to Traffic Commission, to Mobility Commission, to Planning Commission after, and then it went to the City Council twice earlier this year. And at the second meeting, we got Council's green light for this with a few comments with regards to modifying the language of the program. They said, okay, go back, add these and revise these to this final version and bring it back to us for final approval and adaptation. However, do take it to Mobility Commission before it comes back to us, so if they have some suggestions and ideas. But this pretty much comes from the previous rounds of review and Council's final direction to us. I did mention the community feedback, the 2-3 meetings that we had. We did a survey through the community. The consultant was very knowledgeable. They had done this for various other cities in the state, even out of state, I believe. And we've had, as I said, multiple council meetings. So these are a summary. There were a lot more, but these are the more important changes that's coming to the program. The number of permits is no longer fixed for every residence. Now it comes based on the number of bedrooms it has. Both the number of guest passes and the residential passes are based on the number of bedrooms. We do have a lot of additional definitions, phrases, and keywords that were affecting the program operation are no longer open for interpretation. There are clear definitions for these different phrases in the program language. The fee is proposed to be increased for the residential permits. Now we have physical cards, stickers, and hangers. Council did provide us funding to go to an automated system. We are already negotiating with different vendors who provide us the software platform, the app, and the devices that would allow automated enforcement just based on license plate. No need to go physically verify the parking permit. The guest passes duration are being changed. There are also special provisions for events, for specialty vehicles, service vehicles, obviously post office vehicles, delivery vehicles, these kind of special type vehicles, non-resident vehicles. To establish a zone, the new process is that we have a minimum of 1,500 feet for a permit. A segment has to be at least 1,500 feet. We don't do it in like super small zones. The petition needs a majority signatures. The zone that is requested to the city to evaluate has to have a petition of 50% plus of the residents of that zone for us to start the evaluation process. A parking occupancy evaluation is then conducted. 50% or more of the parking capacity in that zone has to be full when we survey it. Basically, if there is ample parking in the neighborhood, this current program language says it doesn't qualify. At least half of the parking spaces, and this was initially 70%, council suggested it be lowered to 50%, easier to qualify for a permit parking zone. And then out of that 50%, if there is 50% of the vehicle, of the parking capacity of the neighborhood impacted and full, half of those should belong to non-residents. If like all of those are residents parking in their own neighborhood, it still wouldn't qualify. So this is the criteria for qualifying. However, it does include language that commissioners are still allowed to recommend to City Council for the zone to be established due to other quality of life concerns and reasonings. There's no metric in there, but commission is now allowed to still recommend it. And then council is also obviously authorized to establish a permit parking zone based on quality of life concerns. The issuance and duration of permits and permit exemptions are also changed and very clear now. The term is now 1 year. We had zones that were unlimited. The number of permits issued as it is based on bedrooms, 1 bedroom, 1 permit, 2 to 3, 2 permits, and 4+3 permits. I mentioned some exempt vehicles. And this is the issuance change. We do verify right now the residents based on their lease document, their titles, their mortgage document. We verify people's ownership of the property or their residence. And then we also get their vehicle registrations, their driving license. So this all will be continued to be done, but in a more automated web-based system. Oh, there's also a new provision included in the new program. That's a good neighbor policy. This good neighbor policy states what the neighbors should do and what happens if they don't, and how there are penalties for they might lose temporarily their permit parking pass privileges or permanently or temporary asset. The guest passes are also similarly the number of permits issued is based on the number of bedrooms a property has. 14 days it's valid for, and then they can get these similar permits for events and gatherings. Council authority is, as mentioned, they are allowed to implement a zone based on quality of life concerns. And when they adopt a resolution, so certain language goes into it was attached to the agenda item. The language of the Muni Code will be adopted. Certain things will be attached to individual resolutions. We anticipate that different zones that will be coming up in the future, for various reasons, we might want to have different number of passes per residence. If the capacity is less, we might not want to give away this many passes, or the fees might be different. If there is a apartment complex that charges a lot more or a lot less, we might want to have different fees. For various reasons, certain specific, or the number of hours a specific zone might require to be 7 p.m. to 7 a.m., another zone might be 24/7. So because of these concerns, we are including certain specifications of the permit parking zone into their own individual resolutions. The number of passes, the duration, the fee, these will be, when the council adopts a resolution for that permit parking zone, these detailed specifications will be included in the permit zones resolution. That gives council more flexibility with establishing certain criteria. We're not going to put, like, all permit parking zones in the city will be from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. in our Muni Code. That kind of locks our options to implement. And then, as mentioned, the new system will, if implemented, as I said, we're negotiating with different vendors. If it's implemented, it would make enforcement a lot easier. Just a gun will detect a license plate and then prompt the user that it needs to get a ticket, or it doesn't need a ticket, it has a valid license. I did discuss this process. Yes, that's my presentation. I'm open to questions. Thank you.
Okay, I'd like to open it up to the commissioners for comment.
Thanks, Abe. I just have a question, if I could propose to you. So we had some speakers talk about Fox Point, and just briefly, if they would like a permit parking on the road that was mentioned, or roads that are close to or nearby Fox Point, how would that happen?
So if this program that we have tonight is adopted by the city council, my understanding of the program, based on what I've heard from the consultant and the process I explained, we would first get the petition, which we already have received informally. I guess we'll get it formally after, because the program right now is still not in place. But I don't see why we won't get the same petition in 2 months, probably more signatures, if not less. We will survey the neighborhood based on the program to see the parking capacity and how it's impacted. I know there are days that more than 50% of the parking that's available on Paseo de las Flores is impacted. We'll see. We surveyed. We can survey multiple times to see what we find. Maybe average it out. There are different days, midweek, weekend. The next criteria is how many of those are resident. I can already say that pretty much 99% are non-residents. That's so that would be met, and then we'll bring it to the commission with the staff recommendation, and commission at that point gets to vote on it, and then it goes to city council.
Well, one of the situations I foresee is, for example, via Molina we had, and that was a bit more consistent, where we knew that the residents across the street were using surrounding roadways, whereas Fox Point, if there's an event, or there might be, say, Friday or Saturday nights might be more crowded than others. Would that affect your decision making on the type of permit that they get, or?
For Sidonia, if that's what, is that the city you're referring to, the adjacent streets?
Yeah.
So the way it works is that the residents of a permit parking zone and the neighboring properties, adjacent properties, would have to get a pass. So if Sedonia becomes a permit parking zone, technically Fox Point Farm residents will get a pass too. So Paseo de las Flores works different because there's no connection between Fox Point Farm and Paseo de las Flores. They're like a block away from each other. There's no direct connection. But similar to the Villa Molina permit parking zone, where the apartment complex got to use the same permit as the residents of those streets because they're abutting the permit parking zone street. So I don't think the same. I guess it's a little too early. We will obviously discuss when the time comes, but yeah, I'm kind of getting ahead of myself. But these are.
Yeah, no, I just was curious about a couple of different scenarios. No, I completely understand. Thank you.
Abe, can you elaborate on the good neighbor policy you were referring to? What does that mean exactly?
Yes, there are a few bullets that were included in the exhibit about what you should, like, don't throw trash out, or don't do this in the neighborhood. You're not supposed to drink, or stuff like that. Like as the wording implies, like, be a good neighbor. Mm-hmm. And then there's language in there that says if you do these things, you'll lose your privilege for this much, or the first time you'll get a warning, and the second time you get. That was a direction from the city council to include that in the Muni code, to have some sort of a direction to the residents that, hey, we want you to, be good neighbors. If you don't, you might not get your permit passes. Okay.
It doesn't seem like it's really related to getting your permit passed or not, but if the council decided that, I guess that's a moot point.
It doesn't happen, like, when they're getting their passes, they will sign that. Mm-hmm. They're basically claiming that they're not going to abuse this pass, for example. I'm not going to give my pass to my neighbor, or I'm going to not give it to somebody who's doing a sublease on my stuff like that.
Okay. And then it sounds like basically the plan is to hire a contractor to enforce this. Is that the plan?
We are negotiating with vendors who can provide us the software platform for people to submit their applications and their documents to be reviewed, and the permits to be issued, and the devices that can be used for automated enforcement. That part, council already gave us the funding for. Currently, our enforcement is done by our sheriff's office. We are asking for a secondary quote from these vendors to tell us if they were to enforce it too for this many hours a night, how much it will cost us, and then we'll see. Because right now, council hasn't directed us to transfer the enforcement from the sheriff's office to this third-party company, and we don't know how much it will cost us to see if we have the funding. We received a one-time funding to establish the platform by using the software company, but enforcement obviously is a continuous thing, so the funding has to be thought about for future years.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Commissioner Johnson here. I think without enforcement, these are just empty rules that no one will follow. So enforcement is going to be vital to this somehow. I'd also like to mention that there might be alternatives to permit parking, such as limiting the parking to 2 hours or forbidding overnight parking on places like Paseo de las Flores, because the Paseo doesn't have any houses on it. But the key to this is to make sure that whatever we implement is properly enforced and the rules are followed by everyone.
Abe, what is the penalty structure? Like, what are the fines actually when someone violates? Are they escalating? What does that look like?
I want to say it's $50. Kristen, do you know? 53.
And then repeat offenders, to what extent can it go to car being towed, impounded?
I doubt it. I don't think we can tow for permit parking.
Really? It seemed like that would be something to consider, because It's usually, the old saying, one bad apple in the bunch. Typically, if it's a few that are causing most of the problem, you'd want to have some stick against those repeating ones. Just something to consider. That would seem strange if we don't have some escalating penalties for repeat offenders. And if we have an automated system, that should be easy to control or to track.
I mean, it will be easy in the future when the system goes in place to know, like, if it's the first one or second one or third one.
Yeah.
I don't know if the is our violation based on a city annual resolution, or is it like a CVC? That $53, is it? So it should be a Muni Code update to incorporate this tiered system. First ticket 53, second one 100 or whatever. But if it's not in the Muni Code, they cannot change the ticket.
Okay, so we're saying we don't know if it is or not in the Muni Code, or it's not in it?
I think you said it is. I don't know, but we can verify that.
Okay.
I would think, because most of the fees of the city are either in the Muni Code or they're individual resolutions.
I just think it's important, like when this gets implemented, and I'm sure some kind of notification is going to go out to the affected areas, that what the fine is, right? That may even prevent some people from even thinking about violating. So I'm just saying, more information available, the more clarity on, here is the fine, if you get one, second one, third one, whatever. At least
if
to make
that's-
that part of the communication, because it looks great. I mean, I think, it's what the community needs, and more areas I think will adopt it ultimately, but it would be nice that it's pretty clear what the penalty structure is, or the fines.
Yeah, if this is something Commission has consensus on, I can pass it as a Commission recommendation to Council, and in August 27th when I present it, I can say this is what I heard from the Commission. Commission would like to have a increase, how I want to call it, like a scale system for penalties.
Yeah, not just have it, but have it so that it's part of it's printed, it's documented as part of first finds this, second finds that, right? So that can be known.
Yeah, if it's
Hopefully,
if it's,
you prevent crime by letting people know this is, you don't want it. You don't want to get this fine, right? That may prevent problems. So,
yeah, if the 53 is in the Muni Code, then the secondary and tertiary, those numbers have to be also added to the Muni Code, which we can easily do.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if someone wants to support that, so that we can ask the council.
Well,
too.
I was just curious, are there any other cities that have some sort of escalating parking structure, or would this be just unusual for Encinitas?
I am not aware. I can ask the consultant to check. I know they worked with several cities, so if it's happening somewhere, they would know.
Yeah, and maybe if you're going to be talking to the consultant, find out if there's some way to address this issue of repeat offenders, what other cities have done, if anything.
Sure.
And then just part of that, one other question. I seem to recall that is the parking, the permit fee, $25 or whatever it is per year. Do we make sure that when there's an apartment complex or development that has its own parking fee for people to have a space on the property, that the city fee is never less than that?
This was discussed in length at the city council meeting, and our city attorney is looking into this matter. The concern was that if the city is allowed to, for a specific service or task, assign different fees to different areas of the city. That was the concern, that if it's like a permit for development is this much per unit in this neighborhood, but it's a different price at a different neighborhood. So that's what he's looking into. But this was discussed, specifically what you said.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm glad Commissioner Duncan mentioned that, because I was going to bring that up as well. My recollection, our conversation last time was that the fee would be a little closer to what the parking requirement was off-site, so to speak. So
Yeah, that's one reason that I included the fee in the resolution and not in the city ordinance. But then again, if we can do it or cannot, because usually these kind of fees, there should be some sort of a nexus. To say this is how much it costs the city to evaluate, this is how much it costs the city to implement, to enforce, but then to say, well, the adjacent apartment complex is charging this much, so we're going to charge you this. That nexus versus competing with the adjacent property, that's the part where the legality of it is a little complicated.
Okay, well, I'm glad we're looking into that. And then the other thing that we discussed is, do we have the capacity on the street to accommodate, all of these apartments if we're talking about 4 or more bedrooms that get 3 parking spaces? Do you know what I mean? Has the consultant looked at that a little bit?
Obviously, we can only work on existing zones, but the future zones, there will be different. Usually, there's, like in other cities that I've read about, this doesn't really get it's usually a first come, first served, because a lot of times people who get the permits, they don't actually use them. So it would be tough to go just find, there are 120 units in here, and this has 3 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, and we add them up. 99% chance no zone will have the capacity for all of the passes that were issued be used on that zone.
So you don't see an issue with giving someone a permit, but then there's no place to park, so to speak? I mean,
If when I surveyed, I see 99% of the parking capacity of the neighborhood is full, I will be worried about that. The majority of the zones that so far we've established, and seems like the ones that are coming forward, obviously we haven't evaluated them, but if we evaluate and if it is warranted, the parking capacity is usually not an issue. At least so far hasn't been an issue.
Okay.
So I don't see that really being a problem. If we issue all the passes and then we still have half of the neighborhood available to park, that's not really a big issue. But if I survey and I see like there's no single parking space available, then I'll be worried that, okay, I'm creating a right for the residents by giving them passes, but there's really no space available for them to park.
Okay, thank you.
It's just kind of surprising to hear you say that, because I mean, the rumor I heard was that a lot of the new apartment buildings don't have enough capacity they don't give people enough parking permits to park, and they have to park on the street, so.
No, I'm talking about the streets that we're talking about establishing permit parking zone. Like Paseo de las Flores right now, there's no parking capacity issue. There is parking available and everybody parks. It's just the other impacts of that parking is not really a parking supply and demand issue. Or the Via Molina permit parking, we surveyed it 2 or 3 times, and there's always about half of the parking capacity of the neighborhood available. It's just that other impacts come from that parking that's happening in the neighborhood. So the concern of Chair was, if we issue these passes to these residents, the number of these passes might be more than the parking capacity of the neighborhood, which is a fair concern. My response was that if I surveyed it and I noticed that it's full and there's really no parking space available because people are already using it, then I'll be worried about issuing too many passes. But just by issuing passes, people are not going to bring their cars out of their garages and not park on the street. They will still park pretty much the same way they were parking. So there's still ample parking available in the neighborhood. So I'm not worried about issuing too many passes at the moment with the zones I have. There might be a zone where I'll be worried about I'm issuing too many passes, but not right now. You're concerned about development not having enough parking internally, that's valid, but that's a state code and it's happening, and that really doesn't affect our permit parking number of passes being issued. Whatever parking they have, if they don't qualify to get a pass, they don't qualify to get a pass. If they do qualify to get a pass, they're already doing parking out there, so it's not going to change anything really.
Okay, thank you.
Abe, can I ask what's the rationale from council on putting this within our capacity on traffic and safety versus on the planning? Like most of the issues I've heard over the years has been around development, and I'm just not sure why are we scoped to handle questions of capacity the best? We sit downstream from planning. Planning makes decisions. We have a lot of serious things to get through and deal with. Why is this on our plate now?
I don't know why council thought it has to come. I guess it initially went to both commissions, Planning Commission and Mobility Commission, when it was being drafted. But this last round, they only asked me to bring it to Mobility Commission.
Okay. Yeah, it just seems strange, like if the Fox Point Farms issues are real issues, that's ultimately that's a lot of that was done in planning, and planning decisions are made and need to be revised, but we don't make those decisions in the first place.
Fair, not to defend our planning commission, but as you know, there are certain, set guidelines with regards to the number of parkings that a developer should.
I'm not saying they're bad. I'm more just saying like they would be the ones to know why they did it and why it would what would be the best way to remedy it. I don't know what our expertise in parking allocation is outside of, I think our focus is around traffic and safety. Ideally, more on the safety side.
It can be a suggestion from commission, and I can pass to council that commission expressed concern that why is this coming to us and why not planning commission? I can pass this to him.
I'm going to agree with Commissioner Gross on that, because I don't think this commission is equipped in the same way that the Planning Commission is to address these questions. They look at the number of units that are going in. They should be looking at the existing streets, the existing parking on the streets, and the potential for being able to take care of the parking that's not going to be covered by the developers. We are at the very end of the line. So I don't really see how we can, if someone took a special interest, they could go there and find that information. But there's a lot of other things that we're already looking at, and if somebody does that, I think that's great, and I admire them for that. But I think as a commission, this should really be handled by the Planning Commission, and I'm a little bit concerned because we don't want to make bad decisions. So I think there's less of a chance that we can make the proper decision. And when I listen to the woman from Sidonia, these are very serious questions, and they need to be addressed immediately when the planning first takes place. When everything has already been designed, it's too late, very late. At least it's pretty hard to stop these things once they're going. I mean, where I live, we have the same problem with the Goodson problem, and the people in that neighborhood have got a very big problem, a lot of homes being sold. So I think the Planning Commission is really where they should be looked at.
Yeah, from what I've heard, one comment was about the possible escalating pricing for fines, for citations, and it seems like, the thing is, I don't know if there is consensus Chair, you want to check with the commissioners to see if there's enough support for a specific suggestion, and I can.
Yeah, I was going to bring forward Commissioner Duncan's request and see if someone wants to put a motion together regarding implementation of that.
Can we have a little more discussion on it? Because I think that's an important question. I think Commissioner Duncan brought up a very good point. What do you think about having quite a high fee to begin with? Why go through the measures of escalation? In some ways, I think if I was a resident, a full-time resident, a local, I would rather see $50 means nothing to a lot of people. They're just going to say, I'll park here, $50, big deal. Why not have it 150 or 250? Let's have something that really deters somebody. That would be my thinking. I mean, if you're going with your whole family and you're driving down from Temecula, what do you care about a $50 cost if you can't park anyplace?
Right. Yeah. No, I'm not going to claim any knowledge of what threshold or dollar value is more or less of a, incentive or not. So I was just curious about what that is. After the 52 or 53 initial one, to understand, and primarily my main point after that is just make sure it's documented somewhere so someone can see, all right, if I do this once, this, second time this, so it hopefully will prevent people from having that mindset to begin with.
Well, that's why I sort of like the idea of a high fee and a sign right there. Yeah. So when the person drives their car and they say, do I want to park here? It becomes really an issue instead of just, oh yeah, this is a great place to park.
Yeah, I'm not sure I agree with the logic of that. I mean, I don't know how many times I've walked out of Ralph's and seen people carrying food in their arms because they didn't want to pay the 10 cents for a bag or something like that. I think $50 is going to motivate a lot of people. Maybe not everybody, but I'm pretty motivated by $50. So.
One, I think, wasn't it something in the code that's already kind of a set thing?
Yeah, the prices are set.
Yeah.
Right now.
Yeah. So just, again, for me, more of just understanding what are they, what are the fines, and just make sure people know what they are.
Yeah, I would definitely support that. I think having, Abe already said, having different fees in different neighborhoods could be an issue, and the city attorney is looking into that. So, but does someone want to make a motion on this formally regarding?
Motion, just to take it to council, just to
Yes.
make sure that they include the penalty fees
Um,
in the documentation.
Yeah, just to clarify, Chair, this is a presentation item, so I don't need a motion, as long
Okay.
as you tell me there is enough support from the commission for me to pass this as commission suggestion. This is not a agenda, like approval.
Okay, thank you.
I just want to make sure that if I'm passing a comment from the commission, everybody's actually on board. I don't want to misrepresent commission's opinion.
I'd like to make the motion that we pass this to planning and that we don't take this on.
Okay. So we don't want to make any recommendation at all, just to
No, I think our recommendation would be that we believe this should sit with planning.
I mean, you can provide any suggestion, like, again, the escalating citation fee can be a suggestion to council. I'll pass it to council. At the same time, I can say these were the comments I heard from the commission. The last comment was, we don't want to see it anymore. After this, it has to go to planning commission.
Okay. Does that work for people?
Sure.
Okay.
And if I may, Chair, we do have a speaker on this item.
Yes, okay, we'll open to public comment.
Okay, thank you. Our speaker is Molly Hintlin.
Good evening, Commission. Molly Hintlin, District 2. Kind of a lot to unpack here for your discussion on the permit parking. I think I spoke on April 23rd to City Council about the need for probably a citywide permit parking in residential zones impacted by all this development. All this development was approved by the Planning Commission, and they came with bonus density, so the prior council had their hands tied, and we had to approve all of these developments with their under parking requirements. And the issue is, I did numbers, I was trying to pull up my PowerPoint that I presented just for Sunshine Gardens, Moonlight Apartments, and Quail Meadows. There's going to be a deficit of 300 parking spots. That's huge. And all three of those apartment complexes are within 500 feet of each other's entrance at a very congested corner. So I think the reason why this topic is being presented to the Traffic Commission and not planning, because the decision's already been made, and now we have an issue with managing this traffic concern. Pedestrians, bicyclists, and we're gonna have gridlock at Quail Meadows or Quail Gardens and Encinitas Boulevard. I think Dennis Caden showed you the gridlock that I witness daily at the base of Vulcan and Encinitas Boulevard. And people are running red lights and they're doing crazy things because it's taken them 20 minutes to go 500 yards. So this is going to be a traffic commission problem to solve. So that's why I'm going to defer the conversation very timely, that we're going to have issues based upon all these apartments that people are going to be driving to their work. To afford an example, at the Triton, it's $5,600 a month for a one-bedroom apartment, and parking is not included. It's listed as a personalized amenity. Personalized amenity. So for an outdoor parking spot, it's $100 a month. For an indoor parking spot, it's $250 to $450. That's ransom, and that's exactly how I described it at the council. And the other permit areas, those developments are only asking for $5 for the year or $25 for the year. So with these new developments, we're going to see them charging on top of rental fees, and they're not going to want to park in the building at $100 a month. Thank you. Sorry.
But we do have one more speaker, and that's Sandra Anderson.
My name's Sandra Anderson. I live at 237 Via Palacio. I am in a zone. I live in Zone D, okay? So I know all about it. Me and my neighbors for over 2.5 years have been fighting for this new code, okay? The current code that was on the books is very old and very weak with lots of holes in it. We were denied permit parking by the city council, but we took pictures in our neighborhood of how the quality of life was ruined when the apartment complex across the street changed ownership, okay? We have people that lived in our neighborhood for over 30 years. We had no parking problems at all. The complex was sold to a billion-dollar firm in the Bay Area. They came in, they took over management of it, and immediately we saw over 80 cars on our streets, okay? And it's not just the cars, everybody. This is history, okay? It's what they bring with them, okay? So we went to city council. We couldn't even get on the agenda at city council. We came to oral communication and showed over 50 pictures of the garbage, syringes, used condoms, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, so that the city council goes, oh, maybe your quality of life is getting affected. Yes, it was getting affected. And the way we got our permit parking was because of quality of life, because the code that currently exists would not allow us to get permit parking. We were denied. So we went a different route. We said it affected our quality of life. We were granted it on that basis, okay? I have it. It's from 8 in the morning till 10 at night, okay? And you have to have a permit. First off, the permits are currently $5, and they're $25 at the resort apartment complex. So what do you think people are doing? They're coming over to our place. There's no expiration dates on them, et cetera. I could go on and on with all the flaws that there currently are. What I want to say is, even though we got our permit zone parking, me and my neighbors for over 2 years have been trying to improve the code for the benefit of the whole city, okay? We could have just said, oh, we've got our zone, it's great, we're happy. We didn't do that. We have looked at over 20 California cities and documented and provided documents to every council member, to Abe and everybody in his department. We've gone to, countless meetings with the consultant, et cetera, et cetera. So we're finally getting somewhere. Some of the changes Abe's talking about are good. There's still more improvement that needs to be done. And we will continue to look at what Abe and his department, not just Abe, has come up with. And we are going to fight to get better suggestions in there than what I heard tonight. Yes, we've made progress, but there's still a long ways to go. And tons of cities in California are doing this. This is not unheard of, okay? Over 20 cities have permit parking. So we're not asking for anything out of the norm, okay? Thank you.
You have more time.
Well, I don't know if I need, thank you, Karen, but I just want to say, like, this is a thing. And the other thing I want to say to the new people that are, want to get it, and the new developments, I hear you. I hope you all get it. I'm all for permit parking. But I want to say, our apartment complex, it's an old apartment complex. It's been there for 30 years. It has ample parking. And guess what? They choose not to park there. I have personally gone at 4 a.m. in the morning many, many times throughout the years. I have photos. Their parking lot at the complex is like 50% empty, okay? Yet our streets are full of cars. So we have a problem with overflow parking from an apartment complex. And we have ample parking. We have parking that was from 30 years ago. I can't imagine what these new developments are going to have where they only allow 1 or 2. And the other thing I want to say, not only do we in our zone have the resort complex, they also illegally, but whatever, they allowed in the Ritz that's on the corner and the Cape. We have 3 apartment complexes and they all got allowed into our zone. They shouldn't have been, but for whatever reason, we got them too. So now we have 3 apartment complexes and they all can get as many resident passes as they want. So the good news is things have gotten better in our neighborhood thanks to permit parking. The other side of the coin is there's still a lot of work to be done. There's still a lot of people that are parking on our streets without permits. We call the police, we get them ticketed, et cetera, et cetera. It takes a little like neighborhood watch to call these people in because they don't come, whatever. So yes, our neighborhood has been helped by our permit zone, but it needs more help. Having this new code will help. We also have construction trucks and trucks. It's not just cars. Anyway, I wasn't prepared to speak. I'm just kind of ad-libbing, but I couldn't resist to let you know that there's a lot of citizens out there that have been working on this for over 2.5 years, doing research and providing data. And we're going to continue because I haven't looked at the new code yet, but we will. And there's still some things I think we can do to improve it. And I'm hoping, and I hope all the people get permits parking. I wish them luck. It was a very hard thing to get. This new code that's coming should help more citizens and neighborhoods get permit parking. Thank you.
That concludes for 6A.
Thank you. Okay, let's see. Next up is the mobility manager updates.
Excuse me, Chair, before we get to the next item, so did we have support for those 2 suggestions from Commission, or we do not? Escalating?
That's my understanding. Is anyone?
I believe you've heard a lot of comments, and I think the Commission is favorable to the permit program as we've discussed.
So as presented, in support as presented with no suggestions for change?
I think, Commissioner Duncan came up with, some information that we want you to convey to City Council.
So escalated fees are supported, but not being heard by Mobility Commission after this and going to Planning Commission is not a suggestion.
Do I have any other comments? We are all going to have an opinion. I personally think we are tasked with managing what is happening on the streets. And so I see parking as something that we should be weighing in on, as well as the Planning Commission. But I'm just one person on this, so.
Do you want to raise a hand who's in support of Commissioner Gross's suggestion? I heard 2, and so I heard Commissioner Meddock also supported, so.
I think that Molly made a very good point, which is that these units, and she pointed out Quail Garden, which is terrible situation. It's going to be a terrible situation. They're already in place, and the parking is going to be an issue, and it's going to be an issue for us. So I take back what I said before. We'll need to be addressing that, but we won't be able to address the design, or maybe we will, but I don't think we'll be able to do as good a job as the Planning Commission because they get much more into the details of what that's going to be. But we're going to have to deal with the consequences.
Okay, so just the escalating violation fee.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, let's see. Item number B, mobility manager updates, please.
Good evening, Chair, Commissioners, and members of the public. Gold star to this kid for his helmet being on him just right, so good job, kiddo. I'm Nick Buck, the city's mobility manager, and I have a presentation this evening, just updates about some of the mobility programs which the city works on. Of course, it's back to school. Encinitas, San Diego, Cardiff, Solana Beach all start school tomorrow, with Carlsbad, San Marcos starting next week. As we get into the school year, it's regular for me and for the Traffic Engineering Division at the city to collaborate regularly with our schools in Encinitas to address their safety concerns. We also report regularly to the about CIP and traffic projects to the School District Liaison Committee meeting, and it's normal for us to plan and evaluate safety measures, including crossing guard programs and school e-bike and bike education. We also participate in school events and programs supporting active transportation and safety and circulation as well. Talking about school education, our MOUs with the school districts were approved back in July. So we're going into this school year with support for the schools in place for education at their schools. So for Encinitas Union School District, that means that they'll have assemblies and on-bike activities throughout the school year. And for San Diego, that allows them to have assemblies, webinars, and in-person classes held on Encinitas campuses. Talking about public education, so the city for years now has been offering classes available to the public. Those classes are held on the 3rd and 4th Saturdays of the month at the Encinitas Community Center. Not quite right, not quite to date, but by the end of this month, over 1,000 participants will have completed the class that we offered, which is a great 3-hour class. Demand remains consistently high for these classes. Every time we think maybe we're caught up or we've served everyone, then things get right back to super busy. And so that's good that we're fulfilling that need and that we have a lot of classes on the calendar consistently. I hope we're seeing a trend. What it looks like is that we're having more parent participation in these classes, so parents participating along with their teenagers or young kids. So it's a great thing for all the family to know what the rules and laws are and to support one another at being safe. Also, that helps with the classes that we run, that they're really a little more controlled than a whole bunch of 13 and 14-year-olds, as you'll kind of see in the next slide here. So talking about the education, just as kind of a snapshot of who's participating in our classes. Again, these are the classes that are offered by the City of Encinitas at the community center to the public at large. And you'll see that overwhelmingly it's kids 12 to 15 who take that class. That has a lot to do with their requirement for education to get a school permit to park a bike. Then you'll see that the other biggest number is adults in those classes. Really small numbers, age 16 and up. Certainly matters that kids start driving at that age or get rides elsewhere, but also that most of the schools in the area don't necessarily require a class to get any kind of permit or a sticker at the high school levels. And then under 12 is a really small number too. We don't actually find that there are that many under 12s riding bikes and e-bikes. And then also they're not at the middle school grade level that requires that same class for a permit. By residency, our classes are generally attended by Encinitas residents, but we certainly do serve other neighboring communities. Talk briefly about our school crossing guard program. That was also our MOUs with our schools were approved back in July. That allows us to support half of the cost of crossing guards for our schools in Encinitas. So for Encinitas Union School District, that's going to be 11 crossing guards this school year. And for San Diego, that's 3 crossing guards. That's up from 1 last year. Just want to mention that we always make information resources available on our city website through newsletter content, social media, et cetera. We put out there weekly mobility tips and project updates in the city newsletter. A lot of information about bikes and laws and what you need to know about riding bikes and being responsible with their use. And then also content that we hope is fun and informative to learn about bike safety. We have a video that's called Ride Safe, Drive Safe, which we think is a great video that's rather comprehensive. So if there's any one thing that one could do is watch an 8-minute video to know more than they knew before they watched that video. But always we encourage everyone to seek more education, to really be informed, to practice riding, and to understand what the rules and laws are so that they can be safe and responsible on our roadways.
want to mention our microtransit study, which is now underway. That kicked off in June. That's a grant-funded study for the city of Encinitas. Our consultant is the National Renewable Energy Laboratory, and right now they're performing a local and regional transit analysis, literary review, and planning outreach and engagement activities to come. The study will look at deficiencies in public transportation and seek to understand the needs and demands for alternative options for transportation. The study will ultimately inform the city on the recommended program type options, anticipated cost per program type, and funding and implementation strategies. We intend to return to the commission this fall with an update and presentation about that program. And that's just a pretty picture, and that's all I've got. Open to any questions.
Do any of the commissioners have comments?
Commissioner Johnson, the microtransit study, this is for many cities, or is this specific for Encinitas?
Good question. It's specific for Encinitas. I'm sure that a lot of neighboring cities will, be keen on our study, as there haven't really been many studies done in our region. So I think this will be informative and insightful for some of our neighbors. And as we kind of get toward the tail end of that project, well, there's certainly going to be a lot of engagement with our neighboring cities to the north, south, and around us. But I think that'd be most beneficial for Encinitas to have some synergies with, traveling in and outside of Encinitas as well. So. On the next update to this commission, we'll cover that in more detail.
And I notice there already is some paratransit that provides quite a bit of service, and we need to publicize the availability of that and whatever we do, because there's with all of the new housing development, we have to get people out of their cars and onto some better form of transit for them. Thank you.
Any other commissioners?
Hey, Nick, thank you for the update. Any coordinated effort with the sheriff around tomorrow and New School? I know with Sheriff Collis, there was often increased police presence around school, just given people forget that school's back in session and they're still speeding on those streets.
Yeah, I'll let the sergeant speak to that, but certainly I'm sure it's all hands on deck and quite busy tomorrow.
Great. Thank you.
I have a question about the education, Nick, there was Commissioner Meddock. It's a 3-hour program that we have in place now. Do you think that's an adequate amount in terms of hours?
It's a good question. In a perfect world, I think that there would be a state-issued license. There would be a lot more to it, perhaps. There might be, similar to driver's ed, where someone takes a lot of coursework, takes a test, et cetera. That doesn't exist, and there are other options for education out there. They're just, something, for example, like a Smart Cycling 101. It's like a 2-day, 8-hour type of program. That's great. If somebody has the room in their calendar and can find that class, terrific. We always encourage more education. The fact is that there's limited capacity for all of these things, and so we've kind of narrowed in on a pretty sweet spot with the 3 hours, because it allows for an hour in the classroom, an hour practicing the most important accident avoidance or crash avoidance drills, and then an hour out in a road environment where one experiences the infrastructure in our community. So, practicing how these things work when it comes to a roundabout or a cross bike, or, choosing to cross a intersection like a pedestrian. So the 3-hour class really accomplishes a lot. Again, back to that, if they could get to an 8-hour class, great. But really the 3-hour is what allows us to get a lot of these on the calendar, to move a lot of people through this class, and to really have something of more substance than perhaps like a webinar or just like a quick online thing. So I think we're in a pretty good place with that class.
Well, I know that there are cycle-savvy classes available. Those would be, I'm not sure how many weekends they are now. They might be either 2 or 3 weekends. And each session is either 6 or 8 hours, as you said. I took one of those classes a long time ago. And my own impression is that it was very important to get all that time in and all that expertise. I'm a little concerned that it's easy for a young person who's just getting started and is on a vehicle that's potentially very dangerous, to think that they know more than they know. So I would recommend that there be an effort made through your department to reach out to psycho-savvy classes and promote that among the students here for those that are interested, because most won't be, I'm sure, but the ones that are should have that in front of them so they can be thinking about that, and in front of their parents so they get that opportunity. Because I think the education is going to be the most important thing to prevent crashes for these kids going forward. So I think we really need to double down on them getting as much educational experience on hand. That's on their cycles, not just in class.
Thank you.
Any additional comments from commissioners? Commissioner Thiele?
Mr. Buck, thank you for your presentation. I just have a question about the schools, the campuses that are involved in San Diego Union, and that includes La Casa Canyon as well as the middle schools and San Diego High School.
Yeah, the structure of our MOU with our schools and for the San Diego district really just puts in place the funding for them to offer education to suit the needs of their students. So while the classes will be held on site on campuses in Encinitas, really it's up for the districts to run those programs and to promote it to the students that are, riding bikes in Encinitas. So really, we're a little bit hands-off with the design of those programs. Really, the MOU just specifies what's allowed and what's covered in that cost.
And for the permitting, I know you mentioned really middle schools take up the majority of the permitting process. And do you know for the high schools, there's no demand or requirement for the high schools, and it's just the parents and the administration don't think it's necessary? Or?
Yeah, from what I know, the last I know is that at this time for the school year, there won't be a permit process. That's something that, San Diego is a big district, spans a lot of cities, a lot of area. And so I think that's a big lift for them to coordinate those efforts across all of their schools and have consistency there. So I don't think that they're at a place where they're ready to roll out a permit program. I think that's the reality at this point.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'd like to open it up for public comment.
We do have one speaker on this item, and that's Christine Schindler.
Hello again. So Christine Schindler, East Encinitas. So I'm speaking first as a resident, and I want to say kudos to Nick Buck for the work that he's done. The last city council meeting we had in June before break, it was a little rough on him, and he handled it well. I think he gives good, thorough updates. It was super exciting to see the pie charts. So I just want to appreciate his efforts and the work that he does to kind of bridge the silos in the city between the planning group and traffic engineering and climate action and everything else. So I have more freebies for you guys. So Sandag bike maps, I'm giving you a physical map, but they also have an app online that's good. I'm going to dole out more of these so that you can slap them on bikes, give them to people. So just so you know what So the city provides these during city cycling classes and other events with the message of be seen, be safe, which is so important. If they can't see you, they can't avoid you. So I do take some liberties putting them on bikes, especially if the riders are completely black. So, whatever it takes to keep people safe. So Sandag also has these e-bike road rules, and they have one that's for smaller riders, younger riders, newer riders, road rules. These are very good. However, Nick realized that they only go so far. They only cover a certain amount of information, so he took it upon himself to create one for our city specifically, and it's got a lot more information, very well done. The only thing is these are English-Spanish. This is just English, but hopefully they will do a Spanish version as well. So I just want to say kudos to Nick. Now putting on my LCI hat as an instructor, La Costa High have done things at La Costa High. So through Sandag, they contract with the Bike Coalition that contracts with people like me that are LCIs to do education. I met your wife at an Earth Day event that I just did independently to do bike education and to talk up some improvements from the city of Carlsbad. And we do things at other high schools, but they're not jumping on this whole permit program at the high school level, I think just due to logistics. And then Ron, your question about cycling savvy, think about 10, 13-year-olds. Are they going to sit through 9 hours? So we're giving them 3 hours of solid driver's education, basics. Parents can add more. We'd love them to seek out 9 hours, but I don't think that's plausible. Is that plausible for a 10-year-old, 15-year-old? So thank you. I went over a little bit.
Okay, let's see, agenda item C, Sheriff's Department's report on enforcement.
Good evening. I'm Christy Trampus, the traffic sergeant at the North Coastal Sheriff's Office, Sheriff Station. Just some statistics for the month of July. So the first map is going to show there were 30 collisions that we took reports on. That's not including non-collisions. Non-collision is what we would consider like a bicyclist going down with, not getting hit by a car. We do still take reports on that. We had a couple of those, but those are not included on this map. And also, as you can see, it's pretty spread out throughout the city, which last time I was here, it was not so spread out. So we're trying to do enforcement where we were seeing more collisions in the past. So hopefully it's not so, it seems like it's more spread out throughout the city now, not congested on major thoroughfares. So if you scroll down to the next, the statistics for the citations, we had a traffic blitz at the end of the month, last month, and we were still entering a lot of those citations. So the statistics for this are not 100% accurate because we didn't get all the tickets entered. I know during our traffic blitz on July 30th, we wrote about 140 tickets just in that one day, so throughout the city. So we've increased, we're doing our traffic blitzes. We have another one coming up this month. So it shows basically the breakdown of the citations. Obviously, we're focusing on speed, red lights, stop signs, cell phones, especially during our traffic blitzes. Those are our main focuses on writing tickets for those violations. And then just at the end, it shows we had 14 DUI crashes, DUI arrests last month in the month of July. And I don't have any comparisons for the month before. We've actually switched back to our old report writing system, so these reports are gonna look a little bit different from the past. So next month, we can start comparing like July versus August and move forward to compare so you guys can kind of see. I know you've asked for that in the past. So we'll get that next month for you. And that is it.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to open it up to the commissioners for comments. I can do public comment first. Yeah. Okay. I was getting the commissioner feedback and then the public comments. Then they can comment on what we said as well.
Thank you, Sergeant Trampus. I have a question. What is a traffic blitz?
We call it a traffic blitz. It's basically added enforcement. So we pick a day and we saturate the city and do nothing but traffic enforcement for that entire day with as many deputies as we can find. So we try to show presence throughout the city and write as many tickets and do as many traffic stops and just let the city see that we're there and, you know, slow down, stop, get off your phone. And, you know, we use as many assets and as many resources as we can for that one day just to show presence in the city.
Excellent. And do you target, you said you kind of spread out across the city, but for example, if you would say Encinitas Boulevard, for example, is it possible just to focus on one road or two roads or the cross-section of El Camino and Encinitas? Does that make any sense? Or?
Yeah, we do try to we have a lot of motors and we have a lot of cars, and we try to send them where they have, obviously the motors, it's easier for them to enforce certain areas, certain intersections that maybe a car can't park. There's nowhere for a car to park to watch. So we do try to allocate the more problem areas in the entire city based on the public's complaints or the traffic accidents or, you know, what we're seeing. We try to target those areas. And we did have quite a few on Encinitas Boulevard this last month.
That's great. Yeah, I didn't realize you had both the motors and your cars out. That's great. Thank you.
Yeah, I was just curious. So I know you don't have them in your, you don't have a report you can show, but has the number of collisions gone up or down? Do we have any idea what the trend is?
I'll have a better idea next month. Like I said, we've switched report writing systems, and so the month of June was hard to get because we switched halfway through the month. But next month I'll show July versus August, and from here we'll kind of show how we're progressing or not progressing, you know, compare the months from here on out.
Okay.
To show you guys.
It would be nice to do just not a trend month, 1 month to the previous month, but over a period of time.
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
Are there any?
Yeah, hi, Sheriff Travis. A couple of things. One is we don't have June data. It doesn't look like.
No.
Do we have it though somewhere?
So like I said, we switched report writing systems halfway through the month, so it was difficult for them to get accurate statistics.
Okay.
So I don't have that for you today.
No, and today's fine. Just make sure that it's somewhere that we can pull from. I think that's really important. Thank you for acknowledging month over month. Also, I think counts by day would be really important if we're doing these blitzes, right? So that we're not, blitzes are great, but clearly they can juice numbers and they can skew numbers. So making sure that we're, being able to look at average by day is important too, I think, when we're doing those blitzes.
So I can tell you the breakdown of like what we had for our blitz day, if that's what you're asking for.
Yeah, that's great. And then just making sure, like, we don't just want to have one big blitz day and then, then if I just pulled manually the last 18 months, we generally write between 400 to 700 citations a month, right?
Right.
If we can write 400 in a blitz day, clearly we wouldn't want to have a month where we only wrote 450. So understanding the variance there, I think, would be great. In general, I think you need more data analyst help, right? So I don't know if we can write a grant for that, or but we don't have a lot of control over the data. It seems like, which I think is just really important, so that we can measure it and get better with it. Hopefully, the new system will help. I did have some specific questions on this report. So there was 2 pedestrian collisions. Do we have more data on those pedestrian collisions?
From July?
Yes.
I don't know the details in front of me, but I know they weren't.
Do you have any sense if it was a major? Okay.
No.
Yesterday there was a death on La Costa and Piraeus, which I think is basically 20
The 9th, I think.
Saturday night, Sunday morning though, 5:20 a.m.
10 a.m. there's a DUI on La Costa, like in the corner where Piraeus meets.
Yep.
DUI, like a 30-year-old.
33-year-old from Oceanside. Sorry, you're saying it was Saturday morning, not Sunday morning?
Yeah, it was Saturday because.
Sorry. Okay.
My son was trying to get on La Costa to come to help the memorial.
Yep.
And it was 10 a.m. that he was stuck in.
Gotcha. That makes sense. Okay. No, you're right. So Saturday morning, 5:20 a.m. I think that death basically fell 20 feet outside of Encinitas' jurisdiction, if I understand correctly. 33-year-old DUI survived. Do you have any sense of what happened there? Was the DUI person on Piraeus, which technically means they were going, because that road ends at the end of Encinitas. So was the drunk driver going through Encinitas and hit someone on La Costa, or was it an Encinitas person driving that was killed entering Carlsbad? Do you have any sense of that?
I don't. That was Carlsbad that investigated that. We didn't respond to that, so I don't have the details of how that happened. But I know Carlsbad PD is the one handling.
Okay. Yeah, it would be good to know more there. Clearly, every collision and death matters, but that one is like literally basically on the very outskirts of Encinitas. And for concerns, I know there was concerns earlier talking about Olympus Park. That's potentially a drunk driver on Olympus Park that made that happen. So it'd be good to understand that one, just because it is so close to where we are.
I mean, for what it's worth, Jim, an informal report that I read was that the Nissan with the individual that died came from Piraeus, entered on a green light. Drunk driver was coming down La Costa going west and went right through the red and T-boned that Nissan truck.
Gotcha. Yeah. So that Nissan truck was coming from Encinitas, basically.
Yeah, he's coming from Piraeus, that's Encinitas, yeah.
Do we know if it was an Encinitas resident?
I don't know the details on that crash.
Okay, I'd like to open it up for public comment if there's no other comments from the commissioners.
We do have 2 speakers on this item, and that's Christine Schindler's up first.
So Christine Schindler again, East Encinitas. So I just wanted to recognize and appreciate our Sheriff's Department. So I've made a number of requests for like increased patrol in certain areas, and I'm seeing that they're doing that. They're coming out and doing more roadway patrols, and they're definitely doing some ticketing. It's amazing to me. I mean, it's amazing to me that people still smoke. It's amazing to me that people still drink and drive. So I appreciate the pullovers and the arrests for that, to try to cut down on that behavior. So I've partnered a lot with our Sheriff's Department, and I really appreciate that. So I just wanted to acknowledge it. I've also reached out to them about a reckless driver in my neighborhood, and appreciate the guidance and the help that they've given me with that situation. And I know that they spend a lot of time. It's a priority for them to be in school areas. So certainly tomorrow with the start of school, they're going to be saturating those areas, to use the sergeant's word. And throughout the school year, they do concentrate in those areas, and I really appreciate that, because crossing guards with vests on, police officers, moto cops, that influences people's behaviors, and they do slow down and pay more attention when they think they may get busted. So I did wonder, the dummy patrol cars that I've seen, sorry to call them dummies, but I didn't know what else to call them. Mostly I see them kind of in the Rancho Santa Fe area. So I don't know that I've ever seen one in Encinitas, and I'm not sure what's involved in that, because you only have so many patrol cars. But I do think that those, if they move around enough, they do have an effect for some people. some speeders are just going to speed, unfortunately. But I think that if that's something they could do more often, it may be a good idea. Just to kind of speak to Carlsbad PD, to kind of further address something that was brought up earlier. Carlsbad PD had some officers that went through smart cycling training, which is 9 hours, and then they went through the training, the 3-day training that it takes to become an LCI, which is awesome. That's a huge commitment. They're doing school assemblies, and those are helpful, but they're 1 hour. I've seen them. People are on phones. They're not paying attention. They get their certificate. What's good about City of Encinitas is we're doing on-bike training, and that's what's most needed. So thank you, Sheriffs.
Okay, our next speaker is John Chelikin.
Hi again, John Chalakian, Sergeant Trampus, thanks for the update. And also, thank you for the Zero Tolerance campaign that was conducted last month. We did notice it. I was a big fan of that. Some critical feedback maybe, though, is communication as to the why the what is happening could be pretty helpful. The comments on Instagram are pretty scathing. If you read them, there's no way to win when you're law enforcement. I get it. But when I read things like, oh, just another ploy for the city to generate revenue, or let a brother speed, it kind of bums me out, a father whose daughter got killed at an intersection because somebody was probably speeding. If we could make more of a public commitment and announcement to why these zero tolerance events take place, because we're losing people on our roadways, people may connect with the what a little bit more affectionately, if you will. It's not an easy thing. The second thing I'll call out is so by way of background, I'm a mathematician and data scientist. I spend a lot of time looking at information and making critical decisions based off of information. I am very eager to see the longitudinal data from the Sheriff's Department as it relates to the month-over-month trends that we're seeing, to see if we're making market improvements or staying stationary. I appreciate the efforts, but without data, it's going to be really troubling to make inference from trends that we don't get to see. And in fact, I'll make just a general statement at this commission. It's data poor. We don't see a lot of data in this commission. And we're making decisions on public safety with limited data. Maybe it exists in the background, but in the public forum, it should be more prevalent. So I appreciate your considerations on these items. It'd be great to see a more data-rich environment to make good decisions from. Thank you.
Okay, let's see, we're moving on to our action items. Agenda item 7A, all-way stop control at the intersection of Clark Avenue and Pueblo Road.
Thank you, Chair. Always stop control evaluation at the intersection of Clark Avenue and Pueblo. A little bit background, when Clark Development Project at between Union and Pueblo by the freeway was submitted to the city, there were multiple meetings between the residents of the neighborhood and the staff and our fire department representatives, our fire chief, traffic engineering team, planning team, our city manager's office, our council members attended these meetings. In April, we had a meeting there. There were requests April of this year. That after those meetings, the idea was listening to the neighborhood and receiving input in advance of this development project happening, making certain improvements to the community. In May, these were discussed at the budget workshop meeting at the city council. A certain amount of budget was dedicated to these kind of improvements. There's like RFBs, there's pavement legends for speed limits, there's signing striping improvements, there's crosswalks, there's a programmable signal head for better visibility and for program visibility at the intersection of Clark and Leucadia Boulevard. Many of these are either in the works or will happen soon. one request in there did require commission review and then further council, which was the always stop control at this intersection. Similar to our other intersections, we evaluate the always stop against MUTCD guidelines. The intersection is currently uncontrolled. There's no stop signs there. The development project in the future will have one access to the south leg of this intersection that currently doesn't exist. Currently, it's a T, but it will become a full intersection when the development project is completed. The volumes are not there to meet MUTCD warrants because of the low traffic, obviously. No collisions were reported, so it does not meet the quantitative criteria of MUTCD. It needs 200 vehicles on the minor leg per hour for 8 consecutive hours, which we don't have there. However, there are concerns. The intersection, currently there's no clear right-of-way. It's a 90-degree bend at the end of Clark where it turns into Puebla. The operation that's coming from the west side is a private driveway. It's not clear who has a right-of-way at that intersection. There are safety concerns, and these will be exacerbated after the development goes in. So the idea was, why do we wait for the developer to go in? So because of that concern and the future of this development and the fact that it's serving the neighborhood, is not impeding the flow of traffic on a circulation element road, we are recommending this stop sign to be implemented. It does align with our guidelines of improving the clarity of the circulation where two similar character roads intersect. So this is a location, as you can see, it's currently a 90-degree bend. It's not blind, visibility is limited, but a crossing is also proposed for the north leg, which this is always stop control can serve. This private road on this side is not serving a big community, but there is traffic. But this one on the south will be the future. There are 2 accesses to the Clark development. One is here and one is on Union. So this is the location of the always stop. Staff does recommend this. It will help now and more in the future. These are the different angle views. This is coming south from Clark, as you can see. It's kind of limited turning left, and it's a very tight 90-degree straight angle turn, as you can see. It does address the community concern. The majority of the residents we talked to did want this. It creates a predictable, more clear right-of-way, a more clear circulation at the intersection, turning movement at the intersection, and it does provide pedestrian safety because of the fact that we'll obviously be slowing down vehicles to near zero at the intersection. With that, I'm open to questions. Thank you.
Okay, I'd like to open it up for commissioners to comment.
I have a couple of questions. There were some community meetings. Was there any controversy about this proposal at those meetings?
Not that we've heard about.
Good.
At the meeting, this came from a list that we received from neighborhood representatives. This was one of the requests in there. There was like 15, 20 different types of requests in there. Many of those, because it does not require commission approval or council approval, we are already doing it for them.
Okay. What will it cost for these improvements, a round number?
Just for the stop sign?
Just for whatever we're going to be doing there altogether.
I believe the budget that council provided for this, if I'm not mistaken, was about 70 or 90,000, somewhere there. That was the budget that was assigned. But this stop sign itself is nothing,
Right. So I just have a small recommendation. I went back and took a look at some of the developers' statements. Actually, they were in the newspaper. It was in the Coast Press. And I believe developer, I think it was Grover, said that if there were additional changes needed because of the increased amount of traffic that would be brought on by that apartment on the streets, that they would pay for it. So I would recommend that the city go to them and demand that payment. I don't think the taxpayers should be paying this, and I think they should. And they've already said they would, so let's just take them up on that.
I don't think this specific project is Brian Grover's. I'm not sure. I don't think it is.
It's Nolan.
Is it Brian Grover's? I don't think it, but yeah, it doesn't matter.
Or maybe it's not
Well,
Grover's, but it's Nolan. I thought he was the
it is-
principal
It
in
is one
Nolan.
development. However, as you know, the government 66,000 mandates the improvements that is asked from the developer. I mentioned Nexus earlier. We have to be able to define there is a direct correlation between the impact of the development and the improvement that's being requested. For example, if the residents are asking for a speed radar feedback sign on the street, I cannot put that on the developer because the development hasn't happened. I cannot say your residents will be speeding, so I'm going to condition you to a speed radar feedback sign to slow down your future speeders. The nexus is not there. Or if the residents are saying, put a pavement legend on the road that shows to the drivers what the speed limit on my road is, that is not a direct impact of the future development project. So there's no nexus. There are certain things that we can ask the developer to put in. If I can prove there is nexus, there is a direct relation between the impact of the development and the improvement I'm asking. Like this is stop sign, if I could prove that your development is causing this geometry issue, or if the volume warrant was what was warranting the stop sign, I could say your development is warranting the stop sign because of the additional volume, so you have to pay for it. Another concern from the neighborhood was when people see the green light at Clark and Leucadia, when they're going northbound on Clark toward Leucadia, they speed up to get that green to go toward the freeway. So we're adjusting that signal that only the last 100, 150 feet can actually see the signal hit, not to speed up. If they're in the middle of the Clark and see the green, they don't speed up. That's like a $20,000, $30,000 project. That's not really related to the development. There's no nexus for me to dump it on the, I guess for lack of a better word. So to your point, whenever there is some sort of a nexus that would justify asking for an improvement, we will pretty much always ask for it. And developers, because traffic is not, other than a traffic signal or a roundabout that's expensive, most other improvements that is asked by traffic division, they are pretty cheap for a developer. So they wouldn't deny us if we ask for a stop sign or a minor striping change. These are very simple for developers. So there's usually not much resistance.
Thanks.
Commissioner Thiele?
Thanks, Abe. I agree with your recommendation to put in the stop signs. I think the brilliance of this is that you're preempting the development, and that component of your report is great. Thank you.
Any additional comments from the commissioners? Okay, I'm going to open it up to public comment.
There's no speakers on this item.
Okay, thank you. Okay, this is an action item, so this is something that we should vote on. So would someone like to make a motion?
Okay, I'll make a motion. It looks like I'd vote to approve this.
I second.
Okay. All those in favor? Aye.
Here, aye.
Is that good enough?
Yes, thank you. The vote was unanimous.
Okay, our next item are the Mobility and Traffic Safety Commission's bylaws. First of all, I want to thank Abe and his staff for putting this together. It really clarified a lot of items for me reading through the bylaws, the draft bylaws. So I have a couple comments, but I'd like to open it up to the other commissioners first.
I had a couple of questions, Abe. On Section 2(1)H, it addresses the question of commissioners missing meetings, and it says missing 3 meetings in a term. So what's the definition of a term, if I may ask?
I did get your email about the annual, but I believe commissioners are selected for 2 years. I thought it was 3. I have checked with the clerk's office. I'll update the commission. We can adopt it like this and then modify later. But I thought it was 3 meetings in a term of a commission. Commission is, I mean, when you were selected, it was for 2 years, right? Or
I think it was 3 years. Is it 3 years?
I thought it was 3 years, but I thought a term was like 1 year because we vote for a chair and a vice chair each year.
I mean, it's our bylaws. We can do whatever. I mean, if you feel it's 3
Well,
years,
I'm gonna-
three per.
I asked Amanda this question earlier, and she told me that she didn't mention the use of the word term, but she said 3 times per year. A commissioner, if on the third strike in 1 year, then the commissioner is off the commission. So that was why I wanted to know what a term was. And then I did notice in the bylaws, term is referred to when you're talking about the election of the chair and the vice chair. So, and that's for 1 year. So then there's confusion. So I just wanted to get it cleared up.
Yeah, I'm open to commission suggestion. If you want to make it 1 year, if you want to make it 2 years, 3 years.
Well, I'd like to see the 1 year posted.
3 absentees. I mean, that's a lot. If a commissioner is missing 3 per year, I mean, I would guess they would probably resign themselves. It's not that much of it.
I agree, but things can happen. You never know. That's what it's been in the past. I just thought we'd continue with the same.
I'm not a commissioner. I'm not. I'm
So-
always here.
Okay.
What's the rule on dialing in?
I think we can. Yeah, we've done it. Yeah.
Would you like to know? Like right now? Okay, since I did it. Okay, so there's a certain time period that you need to let the secretary know ahead of time. And then you can dial in, but it has to be from a public place that anybody can access. And there has to be a notice placed on a public bulletin board or some such thing in that space for 48 hours prior to the meeting. Okay. All those things have to be satisfied, otherwise you can't do it. I didn't see anything about jurisdictions. I don't think so. I think you could probably call in from Norway if you want, but I didn't ask her because I wasn't out of the country. So
It's kind of difficult because you have to identify 72 hours ahead of time where you're calling from. It has to be agendized and everything. So like if you're going to stay in a hotel or something, sometimes you have to say which room you're going to be in, and if you want to do it in the business office, so a lot of hotels won't allow you to do it. Right. So it's not a trivial thing to do.
I mean, in my case, I used an airport. That was very convenient because they have a public administration. That worked very well. I had a second question, Abe, on section 6.1. It says, quote, "The work of the commission shall be solely focused on the commission work plan," unquote. And my objection to that was the word solely. I think that the work plan is important, but I would recommend that this be changed to "the work shall be focused on the commission's work plan, but the commission recognizes that the MTSC issues are dynamic and can change, and important issues can come up," something to that effect.
No, I'm fine. Obviously, we did get our direction from the city council with regards to the work plan, so we're not going to drastically deviate from it, but I do understand your concern. If something comes up that needs to be evaluated, we can always add it. Yeah, I don't have, again, this is your bylaws. This is the help I received from our clerk's office. They provided me 2-3 other commissions bylaws and said this would be a good starting point, and I kind of merged them together and then added a little bit of our own thing to it, but I don't have any strong position to say, no, the word solely has to be in there or not, no. I mean, our work plan is large
It's
enough.
not so much for our commission, and I'm thinking everybody kind of knows one another now and all that, but maybe 5 years from now, 10 years from now, it's a little bit different. Maybe a whole new commission comes in. It might be an overturn of everybody, and then somebody's going to look at the bylaws and say, oh, well, we're only going to be looking at this work plan. So that's really not the intent. So I think it's better to keep that word out.
Totally fair.
Okay, are there other comments from other commissioners?
Well, I would agree with the previous comment.
Okay, so noted. Let's see, I had two comments. Let's see, the first one is Section 1, Number 1. The last word there, if you read it, it just, I just thought prevail would work better than control. So currently.
Last word.
Yeah, the last word. So Encinitas Municipal Code and Council Policy, that in that order shall prevail. The other comment was, has to do with getting comments from the community before our meetings. And it's item number 5E. And, it says electronic communications received within 3 hours prior to the state of the meeting will be distributed, but cannot be guaranteed to be reviewed. I was wondering if there was an opportunity for us to kind of put a cutoff, because I know in the past, a lot of times, we'll get comments from the public like 3 o'clock in the afternoon when we have a meeting, like at 5:30. So is that too restrictive, or is that something that we could put into our bylaws, that we would receive feedback? Any feedback that we receive from the community can be discussed that evening, as long as we receive it in time for all of us to review it, because that's been kind of a concern when we get information from the community kind of late in the day, that we're not all going to necessarily be informed to the same level. So.
To make sure I understand correctly, so you're saying anything, as long as it comes 3 hours before, has to be printed and passed to everybody?
Well, that's what you have in there now, but, I was just suggesting that we have a cutoff from comments from the community by a certain time on the same day that we have the meeting.
So making that 3 hour longer, like by noon of the commission day or before, like the day before? I mean, I guess the day before would be a Sunday, which...
Yeah, it could be the same day. I'm just maybe saying 6 hours, because right now what we have in here is kind of loosely worded, in my opinion, because it's saying we cannot guarantee that everyone will have reviewed this information. So, I'd like to see us have something just kind of saying that if the information is conveyed to the commissioners by like 12 noon of the day of the meeting, then, that will ensure that all the commissioners have been informed on the information, something to that extent. That was it for me.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree with you on that. Some of us have day jobs, and if we receive an email after 3 o'clock, chances are we might have come straight from work to here and not seen that email. So if there are comments, they either need to be submitted to us in writing or deferred as comments on the next meeting.
And I would be good with that as well, to defer to the next meeting. Okay. Any other comments? Okay.
So 4 things I wrote. The 3 absence. Commissioner Medlock, I missed the actual section. Can you tell me the section? So the 3 absence.
What was your question, Ed?
The 3 absence you mentioned, well, I can find it. Within section.
Let me go back. I've got it here in my notes. Section 6, Section 2, 1H.
Section 21H, 3 abscess in 1 year. The word solely being removed from section 6.
Section 2,
Section 2.
1H.
No, the first one was, the absentee was section 2.
That was the absentee. Yeah, that was section 2, 1H. And then you were asking also about the solely business?
Solely, yeah, that one
That was
was.
section 6,
Yeah,
number 1.
number 1, that being removed. In section 1, item 1, the word control to be replaced with prevail. And section 7, item 5E, the deadline for informal distribution of comments to commission to the commissioners is noon of the day of the commission. Okay. These are the 4 changes. Somebody can make a motion to adopt with what Abe said, not to have to repeat.
Sorry, I just have one other comment, or I guess I need clarification on how many years is our term?
That seems like it's not in the bylaws. That's defined by our Muni Code and our city clerk's office. I can quickly look it up.
I believe
I'm
it
quite
is.
sure
I
when
thought it was 3 years.
Paul and I applied.
3.
That it was 3 years.
Yeah.
Commissioner Templin? Do you know?
No, I was just going to say, well, just from the discussion, we're using term in 2 different ways here, it sounds like. Term once a year, we elect a new chairman, that's a term. But then also, we're going to be on the commission. We've been placed here for a 3-year, whatever you want to call it. Maybe you don't want to call it a term, but a 3-year time of service or something.
Yeah, although that's not in our bylaws, so, I mean, I don't think we need to vote on it, but it's my understanding it's 3 years, and you can be reappointed for one additional term, or whatever word we want to use. Okay.
Thank you.
So in this, item H basically becomes Commissioner shall notify Secretary, missing 3 meetings in a year will lead to termination.
Okay, do we have a motion?
I move to accept this, what are we talking about now?
I can
Bylaws.
repeat again.
Bylaw changes.
With the alterations or additions that were discussed today.
I'll second.
Okay.
All those in favor? Aye. Okay,
Motion passes unanimously.
thank you. And let's see, okay, let's see, 7C, intersection improvement alternatives at the intersection of Leucadia Boulevard and Hygeia Avenue.
This was removed from the agenda, I believe,
Oh, okay.
hopefully next month.
Okay, so we're on to traffic engineer report. Abe?
Yes, thank you, Chair. So we have this item here new, which is our work plan. I thought it would be a good idea to have it here as a placeholder. Every meeting, we'll kind of take a look at it. If there are any suggestions or ideas about future meetings, about how to approach something, about when to bring it, how to bring it, because this is going to be our bread and butter in the coming 9-10 months until the end of the fiscal year. Item number 1, I am planning on bringing to commission next month. We already had a good meeting with City Council. We started with El Portal roundabout, and then we had some internal discussions on it. So we're using it as a starting point, what Council directed us to do on El Portal, but we are using it to put together a standard practice for all of the roundabouts of the city. This one you'll see very soon. But if there are any comments or ideas about the other items,
I mean, now that you brought up the standardized signage striping at the roundabouts, Abe, as I understand it, we have a problem that maybe it's not unique, but maybe emphasized at El Portal with all of the drunk drivers that are being captured by our street lights and other things that they don't seem to be able to get past. I don't think we have the same problem with drunk drivers at the other roundabouts, do we?
I don't think so. The numbers are certainly, if there are, I mean, I'm sure if we look at the collision in details in those individual roundabouts, there are DUIs there too, certainly not to this extent. I don't think the number is, because here I think it was about 70% of all the collisions.
So with standardized signage, I've been thinking about El Portal and trying to think of what we can do to prevent these drunk drivers crashing there as best we can, because I'm sure that as a traffic engineer, you know that a drunk driver is going to cause problems for everybody no matter what. So one thing I was thinking, and I'm not sure if it affects the resident, if it would affect the residents, but I think I saw it in Carlsbad at one of their roundabouts where the yield sign was illuminated with flashing white lights around the yield sign. And I thought, well, maybe that's somebody that would wake up a few of these drunk drivers before they hit the roundabout. But I don't think we would need it at the other roundabouts, so I'm not sure that we need to standardize all the roundabouts. We haven't even had that discussion, but I'm just putting that out there.
Two points. One is that the purpose of me putting this work plan here was not to go into this. These will become agenda items, and we'll talk about them in length, and these kind of discussions obviously will happen when we discuss about the uniformity. To your point, I do agree with you that like we have rumble strips approved for El Portal roundabout approaching. I don't see that rumble strip being a uniform application at every roundabout. So there certainly will be some flexibility. The way I see this is that we'll have a standard set practice, but then there will be add-ons that are added on a case-by-case. The reason that I have in this is first to have a sight of how many big items we have here, and we only have nine. Like when you mentioned like solely, I was like, we'll be lucky if we just solely focus and finish half of these in like the 10 meetings that we have in a year. But not to lose track. And second is not to discuss in detail, but like how we want to approach it, to just look at it and say, hey, we think like this one, a subcommittee from the commission can take it on. This one, like work on it, because this takes time in 2-3 months. When you bring this, make sure this data is included or this evaluation is included, or maybe contact these other cities, see what they're doing, and bring this to us. Some sort of a provisional like perspective to have enough time. I don't want to look at something and they say, okay, Abe, okay, let's look at this next month. And then like 6 months after, say, oh, how about this one? Let's take this. So many of these would require more than 1 month to kind of prep for. I want commission to kind of be aware of what our work plan is and kind of strategize per se to how we're dealing with these items in the next 9 months that we have. There's nothing with discussing them because these were on the agenda. It's just I'm not ready, and I don't think commission is ready, and I don't think anybody on the DICE has really, on the commission has really, thought in depth about these items. So it doesn't need to be today, just maybe next month we can kind of discuss, maybe have some sort of, okay, maybe in winter we talk about these things, or this is faster, maybe some sort of internal prioritization, these will take for sure longer, these will be shorter, some sort of a strategy. I'll leave it to commission. I don't want to dictate how you approach this, but because I can see many of these being a 6-month thing. I mean, it's not like a one and done.
Abe, I have a question. So it says FY 25-26. So is the expectation that the work plan is for a year, or is it for 2 years?
No, our fiscal year starts from July.
Okay.
And then next year ends in the end of June.
Okay. Okay.
So we
Thank you.
basically have until the end of June in '26
To accomplish all of these.
to, yeah, I mean, I don't think any of us will be terminated if we don't get to cover all of these, but obviously we can do our best.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I'm just trying to internalize what you just said. So for the first one, it sounds like you've already got a plan in place, and you'll be.
I had a head start because
You'll be
council-
sharing it with us at the next meeting. For the other ones, how do we share the work, or what's the commission's role? What do you see the commission's role in the other 9 task IDs? Is it going to be more, you're going to come to us with a proposal, or you're going to request feedback on it, or how do you envision, or what do you think is we should be preparing? I understand the timing element of what you're talking about, but what about how the work is going to be done?
Yeah, I mean, again, I don't want to, force commission into accepting any kind of a process. How I see this, the ones that require some sort of a technical analysis or data collection or evaluation of against like a certain code or guideline or something, I would have to do it anyway. So I can just give you an idea of this is how I want to approach it in advance, and then you tell me, okay, we're good with this, so bring it in 2 months or 3 months. We did have a traffic log before that we will review today. I kind of foresee these going into that traffic log, and then we have some sort of a deadline for these items and some sort of a progress report. Okay, Abe, this item, let's next month, like just do this piece of it. This item, you have 3 months to do this about it. There are items in here that I feel like commission can help by creating a subcommittee like the Assembly Bill 645. Like this is the automated enforcement, I believe. Commission can do some sort of a research, maybe contact other cities or other agencies to see how we can get on that pilot, contacting our assembly members, our senators, state senators, to see what we can do to get on that. I mean, there are items that commission can take on by themselves, and there are items that I feel like I would have to bring a lot of information to the commission to be able to
Okay.
make a decision.
Would it be fair to just ask you to identify which one of these topics you think you would need feedback from the commission, or which ones you think are technical in nature, and so you would probably be able to do something without too much feedback from the commission?
I can, that's a good, valid point. I don't want to do it all by myself in a silo. We can workshop this at a future meeting, dedicate one item to this and kind of discuss them one by one, and maybe spend a few minutes on each and discuss how we want to approach it.
Right.
And then based on that approach, we can see how much of it will be on the staff and how much commission can help, or it's like a sole staff thing, and then maybe put some sort of a timeline depending on how long like that approach would take, and then I can incorporate that timeline that we all agree on and that strategy, that approach into the traffic log for the future meeting. So there will be a log that has all these items, the approach that we all kind of agreed on, and then the approximate timeline of it.
And then I guess the other element is just prioritizing this, because like you said, this is a lot of work to do in a year. We kind of prioritized this already when we voted on it, so I guess we could just keep the same priority going forward.
Good point, yeah.
Yeah, although I think it would be appropriate if we can show some progress, so, kind of identifying kind of the low-hanging fruit, the different items that are pretty straightforward, that, there's not a whole lot of research that needs to, or decision-making that needs to be done. I'd like to see us kind of move some of those forward.
Yeah, I can agendize it next meeting to discuss the approach toward the work plan items, and then we can spend some time on each one of them and figure out how we want to tackle them and go from there.
That sounds good.
I have a question, Abe. At the joint meeting in May with the City Council, unfortunately, we didn't really get much time for the Commission and the City Council to interact. There was a lot of other discussion that went on that day. But I made an effort to bring back on the work plan. I think it was on the work plan before, at least citizens in that area that would be in northwest Leucadia are desirous of a path on the south side of La Costa running from the I-5 to the beach, really, I guess, to the 101. And my impression was that after I spoke, that got added to the work plan, but I don't see it here. It's something that's been going on for a long time. There have been petitions signed by over 50 residents there, and I was just wondering, I thought it was going to be on here, but it isn't. So I'm curious about that. I don't think I saw it in the log.
I listened to the conversation at the meeting after we had the meeting, and then but this was drafted after that. Amanda listened 2 or 3 times. I don't want to say it is definitely correct based on what council said, but I am very confident this is. I mean, it might have been discussed, but in the end, if council didn't tell us to add it specifically, clearly to add it to the work plan, Amanda didn't add it to the work plan. So they might have been discussed, and they might have said, "Oh, okay, that makes sense." But if they didn't say it should be added, I can double check this at next meeting, clarify, and maybe figure out the exact time stamp of the video, and I can send it to you, and we can discuss. But I'm pretty confident this is accurate. Another reason is that I do know the walkway on La Costa was funded. The study, the design was funded, and I do know our CIP team is either finished or close to finishing the design. And it's not funded for construction, but I do know they did work for more than half a year, as far as about a year, on designing a walkway there. So there is something in the works, not construction. Again, I do know there's no money for building an actual sidewalk, but I do know they were studying it for about a year. Last
I was
year's
under the
budget.
impression that there was a grant that had been applied for that was going to be decided sometime early fall or late summer.
That's
Am I wrong on
probably for
that?
construction. I don't know if it's for design of it. That might be a grant for construction.
You're saying it might be a grant for construction because
Might
the
be a grant.
design you're saying is already done, correct?
Don't quote me 100%, but I have like 95% sure that there has been a designing process, yes. But the grant, I don't think it was a design grant. It was a construction grant. I don't think it was a design grant.
Maybe Molly has something to add.
So it was put in the queue for applying for a grant, but to apply for the grant, they had to have a design-ready plan. So that's why it was taken off the work plan, and it's in the design so that when they apply for the grants for improvements for public safety, pedestrian safety, that's my impression. So that's what's going on with La Costa.
I can ask the CIP engineer in charge to report to commission next month, give you an update on what the status of the design. I do know there is something in the works, might not be 100% finished, but it was funded last year by the previous council, some sort of a design.
Okay, I'd appreciate that. And if it turns out that there is funding that's going to be available, I would urge that it finds its way onto the work plan. I assume that this isn't set in stone once we approve this. But if there's money available and there's a plan, there's already design, et cetera, we don't have to wait a year in order to get started?
I mean, again, if it's not funded right now without any kind of grant, it for sure will not start until July next year. So, because there's no funding. So if
The only
there is
other
a
thing
design, it will
was-
be shelved.
Is it possible that Ron's comments were incorporated into 6?
No, this one is the walkway or edge area, whatever we're calling it, on the west side of Vulcan. This was to identify bottlenecks and missing segments on that walkway to be improved.
Got
be
it. Not to La
identified.
Costa and then around.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just basically the west side. I mean, it's not even an official walkway. It's
Right.
basically the edge of the road.
Got it. Yeah, I agree with you, Ron. I think that'd be great to get it.
Yeah, so I just suggest that let the engineer come, let's find out, so then we really know what we're talking about, then we can discuss what to do. Great.
Our next update, our usual safety mobility updates. Our LPI was discussed. The project is in process. All of our controllers citywide were upgraded. We're adding some bike loops, and push buttons were also upgraded to new ADA push buttons. There will be some pavement legends added, and then LPIs are in effect. Some signal optimization will happen at the end of the project. Hasn't happened yet. Our bike emergency is close to finish. Village Park was brought up. The Village Park striping has been completed. All 99%. There are a few minor items still left. Saxony chicanes are installed. The striping hasn't finished, but the chicanes are installed. It is. I've driven it a few times. It does affect traffic calming. It's not a drastic curve in the road, but it does certainly help with traffic calming. I've driven it myself. The striping there is not yet finished. Hopefully, this week. Maybe next. We're trying to schedule the final touches. And then the traffic calming on Quell and Saxony, as I mentioned, this was. Done. The next item is.
Can I comment on those or ask a question, Abe?
Sure.
On the traffic calming on Quail Gardens and Saxony, those chicanes, are they going to be having vertical components other than the chicane itself? Are they going to? There are a lot of holes in those chicanes. They're modular. They're made out of some sort of plastic or something?
Correct.
Are you
Yeah,
planning
no,
to
those
put
holes
any
are just for
plexiglass there or anything?
bolts. Those holes are just for the bolts that keeps them in place.
Okay, great.
There's not going to be any ballers or anything.
Okay, no forest going in there.
Nothing, no.
Well, I like those chicanes. Do we have those in inventory, or did you buy them specially for this?
Yeah, those are built based on the CAD file we provide to the vendor. So they basically get a file from us with whatever design we have with the exact geometry, they built them.
Okay. Well, I thought they looked very nice, and I like that slope on the outside of them, so if a cyclist isn't paying attention and runs into it, it's not going to be like a 3-inch curb with a right angle. They'll hopefully won't fall. The guy that was riding with disagreed, and he has a lot of experience, but to me it looked like it was pretty safe from that point of view. And it was nice wide cycle lanes that you guys put in, so I think that looked very good.
Okay.
I just have a question for Abe. I don't know if this falls under the bike emergency enhancement, but we had spoken a few meetings ago about San Elijo and kind of the different suggestions that you had, diverting cyclists off of San Elijo through the S-curve. And I suggested that the Sharrow marking would be appropriate just to be consistent with other roads nearby. Is there any more progress with that? Any debate, or you haven't concluded what to do?
No, that did go to council. Council did not support the idea of putting Sharrows along the S-curve. They did tentatively, not formally, approve the Sharrow going into the Cardiff neighborhood and coming back to San Elijo. They did ask staff to conduct a community meeting, and the letters are being sent out this week for a meeting, I believe on 28th, for the community to be invited to the city hall, and staff will present the options. But council at that meeting didn't want to approve anything without hearing from the community.
Okay, thanks.
When you have those committee meetings with the residents, that's what you're talking about, the residents come to see how, do you let the commission members know so that if we want to attend, we can come and listen?
We usually send an email blast to the commissioners that FYI, if you're interested. Yeah, there's no mandate, and if you attend, it wouldn't be in a formal capacity because of the Brown Act, obviously. Even our council members, they sometimes coordinate between each other not to attend more than two, but if they attend all together, because of Brown Act, it gets complicated, especially if they speak, and then it's tough for staff to ask commissioners or council members not to speak. So it's not our preference, but obviously you're welcome. We do send it out in case there's interest. The meetings are usually recorded. I don't think they're live broadcasted, but they do. If it's in the city hall, they usually get recorded. Yeah, but again, because of Brown Act, the preference is not to make it complicated by having too many council members or commissioners.
Yeah, I want to let you know that the new striping on Saxony in front of the Y is appreciated. It just went in a few days ago.
Thank you.
Okay, let's see, any other updates, Abe?
Not on our ongoing projects, and this is our old traffic log. And then again, I do anticipate this kind of morphing into our live work plan items that have details, notes, status, staff time. This kind of becomes, and then there will be a secondary table that would be like a parking lot of potential future work plan items or items that are not on the work plan that still need to be considered. So I will, after the next meeting next month, I will kind of merge this with the work plan. So this traffic log would be our way of tracking what we have going on. Then the last is our regular development updates. If commissioners have any questions about any of these, I can ask the engineer who does our review to provide information to the commission.
Are we still on, I'm sorry, on item 8B would be our next, correct?
We did go to 8C, and then now I was talking about 8D. But these were quicker. Oh, I just noticed we passed 8:30. I think if we're continuing, we need, I guess we're pretty much close to, unless we have a longer conversation at the commissioner corner, which we might have. So maybe a motion to extend another 15 minutes, 30 minutes.
I'll move to extend for another half hour.
I'll second.
And if you could all raise your hand.
Okay, all those in favor?
Okay, great,
Okay.
thank you. To the chair, we do have one speaker on item 8D. The one speaker.
Okay, let's see, let's open it up for public comment.
C.
I thought,
It's for 8D. Okay.
So are you done presenting 8D?
Yeah, I can. I don't present, usually I don't present D. D is usually commissioners review. If they have questions, they'll let me know, because we don't have the engineer reviewer here.
We just have two visuals.
Sure.
Okay, Molly Hitlian, District 2. I love traffic calming. It's all about safety. So my printer was on the fritz, otherwise I would have had a better slide. So as it relates to 8D, we've got a handful of warrant developments, many of them by right. So it means they don't have to provide parking. So in 2020, and I know there's better data out there, and I know I've used the SANDAG and all the different Department of Transportation, but the data point I wanted to make here was in 2020, the census for San Diego County was just under 1 million. And then the number of cars registered, the DMV, I wanted to find out how many cars were registered in Encinitas, but that's a Privacy Act. So I couldn't get that data. So I was trying to create apples to apples. So the number of cars in 2020 that were registered with the DMV was over 2 million. That's a ratio of 2.2. Next slide. So for 2024, the census for 18 years and older, approximately 2.4 million people in the county of San Diego. That's 1.5% growth. And we're going to have the same growth with autos because they need to transport, get to their jobs. So I want to highlight the traffic concern is both a mobility concern and a planning commission. So here's the chicken and the egg discussion from your earlier discussion. Yeah, planning commission hasn't seen all of these new developments. If you want to show the list of developments, Abe. So Santa Fe Drive did get approved, and it didn't have an appeal. And that one's going to be very concerning from a traffic standpoint because they're going to have to move the bus stop. And we haven't even finished Santa Fe Drive. That's a concern. And Santa Fe Drive is right next to the high school. They also only have one entrance in and out of that development for 51 units. And their waivers, they asked for about 11 waivers. If you want to watch the Planning Commission review of that development, there's very concerning ADA issues. They only have one ADA sidewalk way in the back of the development. I'm appalled it got approved. So we have a handful of other developments coming up, the Preserve, Sage Canyon, and Alevinheim Estates. So these are the issues that we need to be looking at their plans for parking and accessibility. So that's what I stayed to the end for. Thank you.
Do any of the commissioners have comments on these proposed projects?
Well, maybe just that it's chicken and egg, but I think the eggs are going to be pretty scrambled by the time they get to us. And, you know, it's just too many people for the streets to support.
I guess I just had one comment, Abe. It was brought up that one of the projects only has one, ingress, egress. Would that be something that'd be approved? I always thought you had to have two. And I know that's probably out of our jurisdiction, but I'm just
Yeah,
curious.
I'm not sure if there is emergency access on the south for that project. There might not be. There are requirements by our fire department and obviously, planning reviews and I can ask for more information if commission. I'm not directly involved. I usually just do a cursor at the end when the engineer finishes their review. I do have a feeling that the community in the south was similar to all other developments, strongly, like we had the situation with Sidonia too when Fox Point was going in. The community was strongly opposed an access from Fox Point Farm into Sidonia. So it ended up only becoming an emergency access. I'm not sure about this project. I'm not sure if even there is an emergency. But the main access, as was mentioned, is on Santa Fe. The vehicular access is on Santa Fe.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I would be curious to find out if there is an additional access point, whether it's emergency or not.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's no vehicular access, but emergency I can find out on the unit.
Okay. Okay, any additional comments from commissioners?
Yeah, I just have a general comment, and I think we've all mentioned this throughout the night, as well as the community has, and that is we're not, as you would term, we're not in a silo. We're dependent, and we react to the Planning Commission, which does affect our commission as well, whether it's parking permits or traffic volume. I think Commissioner Gross is right, where the Planning Commission needs to take responsibility to hold the developer responsible for the parking in their development and how it affects the surrounding community and the general community of Encinitas. And so whether it's Fox Point or Quail, for sure, because we've seen the result at the community on Via Molina and what's happened. I mean, nobody is willing to pay permit parking when they raise the fee for that, and so there's overflow into that community. So we're all responsible. Planning Commission is responsible for reviewing those plans and with the parking and with the traffic that's going to be coming out of those developments. So that's my just general comment. Thank you.
But David, I'm sure you reviewed the laws, the impositions that we're getting from Sacramento. The Planning Commission's hands are being tied. I don't envy their situation because we're given no recourse. Anytime you try to do anything to stop it, you have Attorney General Bonta telling you he's going to sue the heck out of you until you're exhausted and broke. So it's a huge problem, but it's the old days when the Planning Commission could go to the developer, from what I understand. You can correct me if I'm wrong. But in the old days, they could go to the developer and say, we need infrastructure, you're bringing, take a look at Quail Gardens. There's going to be 4,000 people moving in there, something like that. And there are zero demands that can be made. Yeah. They don't have to put in schools, sidewalks, nothing. I mean, almost nothing. I'm probably exaggerating a little bit, but that's, and so that's falling on the taxpayers of this city. And there were the people who are trying to do something about it, that would be us, but the city council mainly. It's a very difficult situation that we have to recognize. And the Planning Commission, it's like somebody was writing the traffic laws and telling us that we can't stop them from putting speed limits of 95 down the El Camino Real. They'll sue us with their unlimited resources. I mean, it's similar to that.
Well, that's another whole topic that we'll have to discuss in greater detail. But earlier in the meeting, we were talking about the state of emergency, and I had said we would talk about this during Commissioner's Corner. So I'd just like to open it up for a few minutes and, get some feedback from all of you so we can, give this information to Abe. So how do people feel about having some type of state of emergency for, what has currently happened? We did it with the other one, so I guess I'm kind of curious why this particular situation isn't being handled the same way as the other accident that occurred at the corner of El Camino Real and Santa Fe. That was when we did create a state of emergency, correct?
And maybe, Chair, I would take a step back from that, which is, and I wasn't at the joint meeting, but as I did watch it, and as I understood it, every council member voted yes that they would use the next council meeting to discuss the state of emergency. And so that, it's almost like, is there a clerical error that it's not on the agenda? That seems to be what the audience was asking for and what they were led to believe based on the last joint meeting.
I can check with the clerk's office about the procedure. I don't think staff can bring a declaration of emergency. Yeah, that's something I have to check with clerks to see if staff can do it or if it has to come from a council member or mayor.
But did everyone in that meeting understand it as if they were going to discuss that at the next city council meeting?
But who was going to discuss it? The city council?
The city council, and they all agreed that they were going to discuss it.
The mayor said he pretty much declared it.
Exactly. So that's what I'm confused by.
I was there, yeah, him too. I mean, he pretty much declared it.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly is not as simple as just, talking about it. It does need to be agendized, and, there's a resolution, I think, that needs to be adopted. So there is a process. Yeah, I certainly cannot ask mayor on why he did or did not declare, or council did or declare. It's certainly in their purview, and again, they might have it, in their thoughts to do it. Why is it not the first meeting of August? I don't know.
Isn't that a question we can put forth to him then?
Yeah, absolutely. If you want to draft a formal letter, it has to be agendized, would be on the next meeting. If it's not too late for you, we can agendize it on the next meeting to draft a letter to City Council requesting expedition or declaration of independence, I keep saying declaration of emergency.
It's getting late.
And if not, I mean, Chair can contact Mayor directly. I mean, there's nothing wrong with, if that's the consensus.
What do you think, Chair?
I think it'd be good to start out with a letter and just, just kind of reiterate what occurred during our joint meeting, and then just ask, how we can help to expedite this.
Before a letter gets drafted, I think we ought to have a little more open discussion. I would be dissenting on that letter because, number one, I went to the trouble of trying to find out if there are any set criteria for determining if there actually is a state of emergency. I don't think there is a state of emergency in the city of Encinitas today. We haven't had a public disaster. There hasn't been any kind of crisis, some sort of natural event. There was a very unfortunate incident. We don't have we don't have any investigation yet that's been published as to what caused the death of that young woman, nor do we have an investigation of the death of the cyclist who was on Encinitas Boulevard going east. We do know, I believe, everybody keeps talking about 4 fatalities and traffic. We know that one of those 4, 25% of that number, was an elderly gentleman in an automobile parking, being directed by his 60-year-old son-in-law, and he managed to crush his son-in-law. Well, I wouldn't consider that reckless driving. That was an unfortunate or some sort of crazy situation that was going to be saved with a speed camera or with a red light camera. That was something that's a tragic thing to happen. But we're not going to solve it with those things, let's be honest. And then the other one is a DUI. We have no idea what happened there because there were no eyewitnesses that have come forward. We don't even know if there was speeding involved in, we know there was not speeding involved in the one on Jupiter in 3 feet. We don't know anything about the others, and I've asked repeatedly of sheriffs if there was speeding involved. Nobody has said there was speeding involved, and they just would say the investigation's not been completed.
But before we dig into this too much, I just wanted to understand the process. So if we agendize this for the next meeting, then we can have an open discussion about whether or not we want to write a letter. It's probably not appropriate to have that discussion
Thank you
right
very
now.
much. I didn't want to interrupt Commissioner Maddock, but
I'm
this
sorry to
wasn't on
interrupt,
the,
but I mean, once I think we can agree to agendize it at the next meeting, and then we can have an open debate about whether or not we agree an emergency is prudent or not. And so I so move that we agendize this for the next meeting.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you very much, because this wasn't agendized and we're getting into a debate, and I was like,
Comment.
Okay.
If the city council at their last meeting promised to put on a state of emergency, someone ought to Wednesday night with a white slip remind them of their promise.
Yeah, that's totally, I mean, it's not.
Okay, so we have it on our agenda for our next meeting. Anything else we want to discuss this evening?
I wanted to mention one thing that a gentleman brought up in the beginning about Leucadia at Coast Highway. And Abe, he's dealing with the change to that light status where I think in order to improve traffic flow for pedestrians, that now they have a cross at, with a yielded left turn for people coming out of Leucadia west of Coast Highway turning onto Coast Highway. I think it's an improvement in that it's moving more pedestrians, it's giving the pedestrian more options. I can understand his concern though, especially if you're not used to that. And I don't know what to do. I think there is a new sign up that lets the cars know they're turning onto oncoming pedestrian crossing. But he said he was almost hit. I've seen him walking out there. I've heard multiple people tell me they've almost been hit there. When there was the hit and run there, my original concern was that was where that person was hit. They weren't. They were hit about 40 feet away from there. So it wasn't that reason. But
there is a solution.
I hope you can draw it out on a diagram for me because I'm having a tough time visualizing
it's kind of hard to
this.
explain. He explained it actually pretty well. You have the basically when you're trying to cross the road, the cars coming out of Coast Highway.
From which crossing? From where to where?
Cars going from the west side of Leucadia Boulevard, turning onto Coast Highway.
Leucadia has a north and a south.
No,
They're
Leucadia
going
Boulevard.
west or east, so.
No, they're going north onto Coast Highway. They're turning from Leucadia Boulevard north onto Coast Highway. They're coming from the beach. From imagine they're coming from Beacons. They're going down Leucadia Boulevard and then they're going to turn left onto Coast Highway.
Eastbound left turn.
That used to not
From
be
West
a
Leg.
pedestrian crossing. Now a pedestrian can cross there, and the car is expected to yield the pedestrian. It's a change. I think it's a good change in that it creates, because you get a lot of pedestrian backlog there, but people are naturally confused by it.
Yeah, the solution usually in these cases is to eliminate that pit and only serve it with the westbound.
Yeah.
But that can mean it 140-second, 150-second.
Yeah, you get a train delay sometimes.
Yeah.
Then yeah. So I don't know, I don't have a good answer.
I
to
did
that.
write, I do know the gentleman, and I have a staff member specifically working with a consultant on that signal. I'll ask him to communicate with him and go out there in the field and meet and see if there is optimization possible.
Thank you.
And we have another gentleman like him that's continuous coming, Pete Albanese, I don't know if you know him. He is continuously working with one of our staff on potentially making things better there.
Okay, anything else anyone wants to bring up this evening?
Yeah, I do notice that Commissioner Corner is no longer listed on the agenda. Is that an error?
Yeah, it was an error. I just noticed. We are doing it anyway, so no worries there. But it was missed.
Okay, anything else? Okay, let's see. Meeting is adjourned at 8:51.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Dina.
Paul, you want to get one of these packets?
What the lady passed out.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dina.